Good morning to everybody. I'm Valerio Barberis, Deputy Mayor on Circular Economy of the Municipality of Prato, and I bring here you the greetings also of the Mayor, Matteo Biffoni, the Mayor of the City of Prato. Oh, I'm very happy to be here and representing the City of Prato in this very important event, and representing one of the biggest district of textile of the world, and of course one of the biggest district of textile in Europe. The city of Prato, since 2014, has been involved in a strategy to define urban policies and territorial policies linked to the dimension of the city, and to that, and linking so the policies of the administration to the industrial policies of the industrial textile district. The textile district of the city of Prato hosts thousands of different entrepreneurs and companies, and focuses and has been always focused on circular economy themes and principles. Its basic and historical product, the so-called cardato rigenerato, is actually the reuse of old wool clothes and transform them in new and wonderful textiles. So thanks to this tradition that goes back to at least 200 years, the textile district of the city of Prato has developed in the meantime several new technologies, and linking the textile district to not only to the fashion world, but also to the themes of interior design. So textile for interior design, textile for the building construction sector, and so on. This is very important because this gives again a new meaning of circularity in the dimension of the district of Prato, considering that the raw materials, the second-hand raw materials that comes from the discharged materials from the textile district of fashion becomes new materials for the other district, for the other use done in the textile district. So, for instance, in the building site construction sector. Next to the textile industry, the city of Prato hosts one of the biggest industrial aqueduct of Europe. GIDA is the company who is in charge of the reuse and the treatment of wastewater, and treats together civil and industrial wastewater in a unique plant. And after several treatments of the water, this water, instead of going back to the environment, it's inserted in an industrial aqueduct that is serving all the industrial areas of the city and also of the district. So not only on the municipality of the city of Prato, but considering the district as in a bigger territory. This is very important because it gives a sense of a district, of an industrial district, where urban policies put together the municipality of Prato, so the public sector, and the entrepreneur, so the association of entrepreneurs in the 80s, in a common project, considering both the reuse of water from a civil point of view, so from the point of view of the public, of the municipality, and also from the point of view of the industrial sector. So giving access to, in a way, to a vision where public policies and industrial policies bring together for a sustainable and environmental friendly approach to the reuse of water. The tradition of circular economy of the city of Prato also focused on other several aspects. First of all, the reuse of urban fabrics. The city of Prato is involved since the 70s, let's say, in reusing old, unused industrial, not only buildings, but districts with new purposes. The first theater that was held and built in an industrial factory is in Prato, and it's the so-called Fabbricone Theater that was built in the 70s thanks to the experience of the director Luca Ronconi, who made a very important experience in the city of Prato, and which is a milestone in the history of performing arts of the world. Starting from this experience, now the city of Prato, a lot of cultural and institutional buildings like the Museum of the Textile, like the Central Library, like the Chamber of Commerce, are held in buildings that were industrial unused buildings and that are now new important cultural and public institutions of the city. This tradition in the public then, of course, changed also and was transferred in the private sector, where the urban policies from the point of view of urban planning are always going in the direction of reusing, of increasing the reuse of the textile and of the industrial buildings and district in order to reuse them and reduce the consumption of the ground, of free soil. And this is very important now because it's a general attitude that it's now going as the mainstream of the European policies. But this was one of the main urban policies on the city of Prato starting from the 80s. But next also to this tradition, it's very important to remember that the textile district of the city of Prato is, let's say, starting from the 80s, it has grown with the dimension of sustainability. So now we can say that the textile district of Prato, it's one of the biggest in terms of sustainability, of the biggest textile district in the world in terms of sustainability, and that gives a sense of sustainability in the direction of circularity. The textile district made an important agreement with Greenpeace a few years ago with a detox system that signed an agreement where the textile industry focus on use only sustainable materials and sustainable chemical, in order to avoid the use of chemical materials and chemical treatments in the production of textiles. This of course gave a great international resonance to the textile district, thanks to this experience, demonstrating that industry, the manufacture European industry can go together with a concept of sustainability and can go together with the principles of how to have a sustainable approach to the environment. The city of Prato, starting from 2016, has been member of the Partnership on Circular Economy within the urban agenda of EU. The city of Prato was the coordinator of for Italy in the participation of this very important partnership, where several cities, regions, member states, together with DG Regio, DG Environment, DG Growth, developed the strategies at urban level, so focusing on the dimension of the city, at urban level, of how to define the transition to circular economy of cities, and how cities could develop this strategy from also considering the strategies at the national level. It was a very important experience where the city of Prato was coordinating several working groups. And thanks to this experience, now the city of Prato has a councillor, a deputy mayor on circular economy, and a program which is called Prato Circular City, that is focusing and transferring the experience at European level that the city made starting from 2016 in the city of Prato. So transferring here the governance model of creating partnership and creating a vision of the city to the transition to circular economy, and focusing on several themes. One, of course, is textile district. Another one is the use of materials within the circular principle of the city. And another is circular consumption. So how to create an awareness on citizens on circularity. And finally, another one, the last one, on urban agriculture and food policies. All these aspects have been transferred in a vision of the city, the so-called Prato Urban Agenda 2050, that has been was approved at the end of year 2020, so a few days ago, and which is, let's say, the strategic position of the city within the new and the important visions that are now focusing, working as the main programs at European level, and of course, the Green Deal and Next Generation Europe. The Prato Urban Agenda 2050 represents the vision of the city and the strategic position of the city in terms of its transition to its environmental transition, circular transition, digital transition, and how to develop strategies at urban level to give to the economical system social resiliency. One of the main topics of this document is the transition on circular economy, and where the Prato Circular City program becomes an action plan that is going to be planned in the next years. So thank you for being here. Now I welcome you to this event, and I give the floor to Besnik Mehmeti. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Valerio, for bringing here also the greetings from our mayor. Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being here today with us. It's a pleasure to host you so numerous today at our event. This final conference is organized in the context of the RESET project, an Interreg Europe project focused on the topic of sustainability in the textile and fashion sector. Let me just start sharing the screen with my presentation. Before starting, I need to remind you that this event is going to be registered for communication and for project communication purposes. So in respect of your privacy, please inform us in the case you have any issue with this event being published. As we all know, fashion is a sophisticated expression of society, widely perceived as a cultural medium, pervading and informing social practices and dynamics. On the other hand, fashion and textile is one of the oldest manufacturing sectors in Western countries, contributing to globalization processes and producing various effects of cultural homogenization and impoverishment, as well as deeply affecting the quality of the environment to the point where today it is the second most polluting industry in the world. And here you can see many facts about the impact textile and fashion have on environment, such as thousands of liters of water to make one pair of jeans or a t-shirt, the use of thousands of synthetic chemicals to turn raw materials into clothes, or the impact on the landfills with 85% of clothes discarded directly on the landfill, or 10% of all new clothes that is never sold or never worn and but goes directly to the landfill. The public in the last decades has begun to demonstrate a greater awareness on the and new sensibilities have been developed to change consumers' attitudes towards consumption choices, thus increasing the demand for transparency on the part of the fashion brands. So business sustainability has become the most important objective for the textile and clothing industry. Networking between regional and local authorities, textile and clothing clusters, research centers, and other stakeholders, together with sharing experiences across European Union, linking technological evolution of products and processes with a more sustainable approach, represents an essential part of the transition to a more sustainable textile sector. The RESET project has had the objective to trigger policy change in the implementation of the regional policies and programs of the structural funds, linking research, technological development and innovation with the sustainability of the textile sector in the partner regions. And the policy instruments we have targeted in more than 4 years so far of RESET project have been represented by European by ERDF operational programs at regional level, such as the case of Uch region in Poland, Valencia, Tuscany, Hauts-de-France, and Saxony, or national programs, national structural fund programs like in Romania, in Czech Republic, in United Kingdom, and Portugal. The main objective of the project has been translated in capacity building activities, supporting the partner regions to develop research and innovation excellence in the textile sector, oriented towards the sustainability of the production processes and product development. And this capacity building activities has embraced different policy themes. Like the textile recycling, in 2017 we have perhaps anticipated a bit all the debate on the circular economy that we know today. Another important theme has been water consumption and energy saving, new sustainable chemistry, smart textiles, eco-creativity and natural fibers, and new materials and applications. Of course, I just would like to say that the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated, this ongoing transformation and the commitments of the industry, not only of the most well-known and iconic fashion brands, but also those of the manufacturing and textile companies, as our Vice Mayor, Deputy Mayor Valerio Barberis mentioned in Prato with the detox protocol. But of course, let's say that also other textile clusters around Europe are moving in the same direction and taking more and more commitment toward the sustainability of the textile sector. Let me just also present the partnership of the project, which gathers most important fashion cluster, textile clusters around Europe. In Prato, we have two partners, the municipality, which has been leading this project, and Next Technology Technotesile, the research center. Then Lodz region in Poland, the cluster of technical textiles in Czech Republic, ITEX in Spain, the Textile Center of Excellence in United Kingdom, the Saxony Institute of Textile Research in Germany, the Technological Center for Textile and Clothing of Portugal, National Research and Development Institute for Textile and Leather in Romania, and the Center of European Textile Innovation in France. After 4 years of project duration, we are able also to present the main results. We have organized during these 4 years more than 80 policy learning events, during which we have identified 59 good practices across the 6 different topics of the project, developed 9 action plans, which have triggered 28 projects that have been approved by the 9 structural fund programs. And this project, of course, has been the result of the exchange of experience between partners. Altogether, these projects have a budget of more than 6 million euro. So let's say this is the amount influenced by the project. And we have boosted the cooperation of companies, of the textile companies, with research centers. During 4 years, 43 enterprises have been cooperating with the research centers, and 45 people across the partnership have increased their professional capacity thanks to the participation in interregional cooperation activities. All these results, the good practices, the action plans, are available at our website, interregeurope.eu/reset, in the library section, and also you'll find a selection of 12 good practices also on our YouTube channel. In the next days, we will release also the final publication of the project, providing insights on the good practices and the action plans. So, coming to the end of my presentation, a brief introduction to the agenda of today's meeting. The hosting team for this event is composed by myself, Paolo Guarnieri, who will facilitate the first panel on the action plans. Enrico Venturini will moderate the second panel on the decisive contribution of the textile sector against the COVID-19 pandemic, during which we will show a selection of cases of research projects that have been implemented by textile SMEs. And I'd like to mention here that it's a pity we cannot show all the cases that were presented us during the definition of the agenda of this meeting, because there were too many, and for a question of time we couldn't do that. But I'd like really to thank all the companies, all the partners for the great job that has been done. Each panel will be introduced by a keynote speech. I'd like to thank Etienne Verhel, our officer at the Interreg Europe program, and Frederick Goethals from Centex Bell for accepting to be with us today. And thanks also to our good friend Lutz Walter from the European Textile Platform, who will have a task to make the final conclusions of the conference today. Now, I'd like to pass the floor to Etienne Verhel from the Secretariat of Interreg Europe for a keynote speech on the contribution that interregional cooperation can provide to the textile sector, and immediately then to Paolo Guarnieri as the moderator of the first panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Besnik, and good morning to you all. It's a real pleasure to be here today, and I know it's just the beginning, and there's yet more to come. But I found already very interesting this very opening remarks, as well amazed of what's actually happening in Prato. And thank you, Mr. Barberis, for showing us as well what's happening as well in the ground. So I'm gonna quickly share my presentation. If everything is working well. It worked well, of course, yesterday, but today it's not the case. Maybe Vincenzo, you can share my presentation. Sorry for, yeah. Okay, here it is. Thank you so much. Well, it's good indeed to have a plan B, just in case. So indeed, as Besnik was saying, I'm the policy officer following RESET project, and for the past years. And so it's a real pleasure to be here today to see as well what the project has been achieving, and the exchanges that took place. Even though of course I was following it on the back end, but glad to see it as well here today, the final event of this project. Next, please. So just a quick overview of the presentation. The idea is to, for those that don't know yet, Interreg Europe, to present to you quickly what Interreg Europe program is about. Then address a little bit more what we've been doing when supporting the cooperation in research and innovation delivery. A couple of words on RESET, of course, and then a couple of words as well on the future of the program, because of course some of you here attending today could be interested by what Interreg Europe has to offer in the years to come. Next, please. So Interreg Europe is basically an Interreg program, so focus on the exchange between regions all over Europe, still for this period, including the UK, plus Norway and Switzerland. The idea is really to foster the exchange of experiences between regions in order to improve the use and the implementation of especially ERDF, regional development policies, structural funds, and also enhance the capacity of different regions to collaborate with each other and mix more and less advanced regions so they can learn from each other in order to improve their public policies. The idea is really to have policies that will be improved at the end, but based also on local needs, to hence the importance of local stakeholders in the learning process. And we have a very strong focus on results on the policy. So how this exchange will actually lead to further change in the region because the whole framework will be changed. Next, please. So we had so far 4 calls, and there's 258 projects that were approved. Some are already closed. Some will close soon. It's the case of RESET. We have here a couple of figures, but as I said, 30 countries, almost all regions in Europe at the NUTS 2 level are covered. 25% of the project partners are managing authorities, and we have more than 2,000 partners involved in the different projects. So a lot of big figures. Next, please. That actually leads, and that's maybe more important, to actually great outputs as well. We have 3,500 good practices that were identified by the projects all over Europe. Out of these 3,500, more than 2,000 were actually identified as very interesting by our expert from the policy learning platform. So that means as well the very good quality of the good practices that were identified. We have more than 12,000 people that declared that indeed their capacity, their skills improved thanks to their participation in the project. And we had 900 action plans. So these plans that all region partners are developing at the end of their phase of exchanges in order to set the path for further actions to be implemented in the region. So here as well, we are well ahead of our target that we had at the very beginning of the program. And it means as well that all the partners in the different regions are really involved and really committed to work for better policies in the different regions. Next, please. So indeed, the main result that we focus on is the policies. It can be an operation programs, it can be another local strategy, but at least we very much focus on this policy framework. And for this, we are also quite lucky and quite grateful for all the projects and what they've been doing so far. We have 484 policy changes that were declared by 146 projects. But it's not only a policy change by itself, so it's not only changing here and there a couple of words or submitting a project to an operational program, but it's actually influencing structural funds and money on the ground. And here it's really interesting because in these 146 projects, we spent, in the contribution of the program, we spent 185 million euros for this project as contribution and as subsidies for this project. And in return, they influenced more than 800 million euros. So here we have a leverage of more than 4, meaning that for every euro that we spend in one project, that the program Interreg Europe is spending in one project, there's 4 euros back in the region. So I think that shows as well how this exchange of good practices, this exchange of learnings between regions actually has a great impact on the ground at the end. Next, please. So that was the part about the project, and that's what Interreg Europe is really maybe the most famous for, and that's what RESET participated in. We also have this second pillar, as we call it. It's the policy learning platform, and here it's more support for projects, but for all policymakers in Europe, really. Even if you're not involved in any Interreg Europe project, you can also participate with the activities of the policy learning platform. It's a community of peers of 18,000 members, moderated and animated, let's say, by a team of experts in our four main priorities, so research and innovation, SMEs, a low carbon economy, and resource and natural resources efficiency. And here, these experts are helping the peers to connect. They will also provide you with policy briefs, some workshops, now online, but usually they are also physical workshops, let's say. And also something very interesting is the tool of the peer review. So it's something that they can offer you. It's 2 days peer review. Again, normally they go to your place to help you define and improve one of your policy instruments that you're a bit struggling with. Now they do it online, but that's a very good way to have, in only 2 days, the expertise of experts coming from all over Europe, coming to help you if you struggle to spend all the money in one of your axis of one of your operational program, for example, and you can see that it's the end of the programming period and you still have some amount left, and you don't really know, and you've been trying for the past years to spend it, but you cannot do it. Then these experts, with additional experts from all over Europe, can come and help you identify maybe the bottlenecks and how you can actually overcome these bottlenecks and be sure to actually have good policy useful for the stakeholders on the ground. Next, please. A word as well on the COVID-19 challenges. We tried as a program to support as far as we could the projects that were running and in general all policymakers in Europe. So we identified a couple of good practices that were especially relevant and some projects submitted new ones really on the go, live, when they were actually dealing, especially I'm thinking of regional authorities or local authorities, when they were dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, they found the time to actually update this database with what they were experiencing and the solution that they put really on the ground, on live, when they were facing the harshest moments of the pandemic. We also ask our experts to provide some more support, so more online thematic activities, webinars, also to answer the needs when you have a quick question as well. There's a possibility on our website to ask them for quick support and a quick exchange of emails or phone calls to help you maybe overcome one short challenges. And the last thing that we are trying to do, and that's for the year to come, for 2021, hopefully, it's an additional call for specific additional activities linked to the COVID-19 response. Next, please. So here, as of all Interreg Europe activities, everything has to be approved by our monitoring committee, that is our decision body. But we are hopeful that it will happen. So the idea would be to open a last call, a fifth call for all already approved projects. So it's not for new projects, it's for only the 258 approved projects, whether they are closed or still running. With a focus on the first and second call that are either already closed or about to close. So it's about to give them one additional year, saying, okay, maybe in 2020, you were not able to do everything that you were planning to do. Maybe you lost some of this exchange of experience. Maybe in the course of the COVID-19 crisis, you identified actually some interesting ideas that you didn't test yet, but actually that you would like to try. So the idea is to give you one additional chance for maybe 1 year to further improve your exchange of experiences, possibly run a pilot action if justified. And so to give you a bit more time to actually still learn from each other and learn by doing as well with these pilot actions. We hope to have the final decision of the monitoring committee by March. And of course, we will inform all projects by then to know if it's possible and under which conditions. Next, please. So now going a bit towards more what RESET has been achieving. As you can see on the 258 projects I was mentioning, it's really well balanced between the 4 priorities that we have. And so RESET is indeed in the quarter dedicated to research and innovation. So part of the 65 projects dedicated and trying to improve policies in research and innovation. Next, please. Among the 65, there's actually 12 projects, including RESET, that focus even more on infrastructures. And here you have a map. Of course, it might be a bit difficult to read everything from a screen, but it connects actually all the different partners all over Europe that are working on innovation infrastructures. Next, please. RESET is a bit unique in the whole family of Interreg Europe projects because it's the only one that is fully dedicated on innovation in textile, which makes it very interesting and very important in this sense. We have a couple of other projects that are tackling a little bit here and there on the side the textile theme topic, but it's more on a circular economy focus. And very much on the textile recycling. And in the case for these 3 projects that are listed here, it's for Circe, which is indeed more about circular economy, of course, tackling textile as one of the source of waste to be transformed into a new material. And Circo and WinPro are working more on green innovation, public procurement, and sometimes including as well textile industry in this. Next one, please. So basically the strengths of RESET, and Besnik already said a couple of words about this, and of course all the project partners will say more, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But what I found very interesting, and what we found very interesting here at Interreg Europe, is the fact that the textile industry, as promoted by RESET, is really at the crossroads of actually a lot of different hot topics. I was talking about COVID-19, but clearly textile equipments and materials were key, especially at the beginning of the crisis. And I'm thinking about the masks. That's something that was the case in Belgium or in France. And I'm sure all of your country faced as well this issue of we lack masks. But textile is also, of course, very useful and very important in the Green Deal, and especially in textile recycling and circular economy. And also in Industry 4.0, so how as well innovation will influence industry, and how the textile industry will fully move towards this kind of new path, a new framework of Industry 4.0. What I found interesting as well in RESET is that all regions are trying to influence and actually manage to influence structural funds programs for all policy instruments. And the achievements so far of the project are also very easy to highlight and to promote. There's 45 people that declared again that their skills improved thanks to the learning of the projects. Then there's 10 policy instruments that have been improved. And there's more than 6 million euros that have been influenced, mostly by projects that were launched and applying to a regional operation program, thanks to the learning from other regions. So here again, congrats for the work done. I think a few projects have been doing so much, and especially with so many different policy instruments improved to this level of funds influence. Next, please. And it's not only this, and we are really proud as well to see that RESET has been active also at the program level, so not only achieving results, but also part of our different publications. Here I can see Bill Macbeth on the web documentary that we had, and that was directed at their premises. RESET is also part of our 30 stories for the 30 years of Interreg programs, and I think it was the partner from Portugal that was promoted here, and also in different events and helping us as well, sharing your knowledge of Interreg Europe project. I'm thinking about Budapest, for example, last year. Next, please. So now a couple of words about the future. Just to give you more indeed a better view of what's coming up for Interreg Europe. So as I said, there's this call, hopefully next year, we'll see. And then again, not everything is decided yet, but should be another Interreg Europe program for the period 2021-2027. As you might know, it was not really present at the very beginning in the draft regulation of the European Commission, but now it's back thanks to the European Parliament and the Council. There's still a couple of things to be finalized in terms of regulation of the budget, but there's already a couple of elements that I can share with you today. And next, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? Otherwise, I can already actually talk about it. The idea of the new Interreg Europe program is not so much to change drastically. So it's more an evolution than a revolution. It's going to be still trying to involve as much as possible regional authorities. There's going to be as well the focus on the exchange of experiences. There's going to be as well the focus on the policy instruments. So this will stay because this we think is still relevant. The difference will be that maybe we'll maybe focus a bit less on structural funds, because we can see that some local strategies are also relevant to be improved. We will try to open more as well, maybe to outside of only regional authorities. And the main change, hopefully, we'll see how it goes, would be maybe to have a one only kind of meta axis. So the Interreg thematic objective that will allow us to actually fund all kind of projects as long as they deal with exchange of experiences. So still very much capacity building. Okay, so that was all for myself, and I'm really grateful to be here today to see what this project has been doing for the past years. I said a couple of words for this, but happy to learn more even in the minutes to come in this event. Thank you very much.
Good morning to all. So we are slightly ahead, waiting for speakers of the first session on action plans to join. Everyone is in place, I see. So the last one is going to join. We have 6 action plans to be presented in this session. Just for newcomers, I want to briefly explain the concept of action plan. Not everyone is familiar with that. As has been exposed by Etienne and by Besnik before, the overall, and that means improving the capacity of regions, cities, public administration, public bodies, to deploy and implement policies that are more effective, efficient, and to the point of achieving the expected results. RESET has been lasting for the last has been implemented in the last 5 years as a 2-phase project. Phase 1 was dedicated to policy learning, and phase 2 was dedicated to implementing what has been learned. And to implement the lessons, roadmaps have been drafted by the partners, which are called action plans. So 6 of them will be presented now, starting from Bill Mahbet, and going on through all the speakers that you have in front now. I will just keep the time 10 minutes each and alert you 2 minutes before the end, so that you can a little bit hurry up and achieve the full presentation, display the full presentation. So Let's start with Bill. I leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Paolo. Let me introduce the organisation I work for, and thank you for inviting me to present the action plan from Yorkshire. The Centre of Excellence is an employer-owned and led group training association. Our role is to influence and support the industry's approach to skills and research. Now, Vincenzo is going to run my presentation as I go through. So, Vincenzo, could I have my first slide, please? Thank you. Right, let's talk about the action plan that we have. Aims to promote the benefits of reducing the industry's impact on the environment, but also to showcase the best practices that are being introduced in the sector across the EU. It's about demonstrating to the UK regional and national policy and funding bodies that the sector's playing a senior part in raising awareness about environmental impact and improving our sector's sustainability. Now, you'll know that's particularly important in the UK right now because policy and funding is being devolved from the centre to our regions, where sustainability is going to be a major topic for all of those regions that host industry clusters. Locally, our first mayoral elections in our region take place in May this year. So our approach to RESET, next slide please, aim to demonstrate how real improvements can be introduced in real time, in real companies, and to share that good practice to influence the development of regional policy. A key aspect of that was to build a much stronger partnership between the industry, academics, researchers, and policymakers. And our RESET stakeholder group was central to achieving that. That partnership has provided the basis for good communications, which in turn have provided a platform for collaborative action, which has become the basis for regional development and regional investment. Vincenzo, could we move to the next slide, please? Etienne mentioned that the Interreg unit had commissioned a web documentary about our project. I produced a 2-minute clip of that so you can hear from some of the key academic and business partners on what was achieved and what our action plan's about. So Vincenzo, can you run that video for me, please?
Partnerships across European institutions is a great way of sharing ideas and developing new projects together.
If I go back a number of years, the word cooperation between textile companies in the UK, particularly competitors, didn't even exist. But actually now, amongst that group of people, the story is as much about social responsibility, it's as much about sustainability, it's as much about being environmentally friendly as it is about the product. And that was something that we were really interested in exchanging best practice and getting involved with a RESET project.
Basically, whenever the guys had a round table discussion or were presenting the information from the other countries, we were keen to partake in that and see what we could learn.
We talked about some of the good practices that we had. We listened to some of the good practices that other people had in the areas of sustainability, and then we took that away and we thought about how we might be able to implement some of that in our own business. And in actual fact, we went back to some of our more innovative scouring techniques and recognised that if we really pushed them to the limit, we could probably reduce water to 10% of what we normally use on a typical scouring cycle.
I think it changed attitudes. It certainly projected textiles back centre stage in terms of economic strategy for the region. A good example of that, I think, would be that we are making major applications for UK funding from a fund called the Strength in Places Fund.
We got a £5.4 million funding, which is called AHRC, Future Fashion Factory Project. This kind of consortiums really help so that we can get tangible outcomes like Future Fashion Factory out of that. That particular project is totally geared to help the industry.
Thank you. Next slide, please, Vincenzo. You heard at the end there from Professor Goswami at the University of Huddersfield that the RESET project led to the creation of the Future Fashion Factory. It's a unique partnership for companies to work with academics and researchers. And the next slide, that's right. The next slide is part of the UK's Creative Industries Clusters programme, funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council, a key part of the UK's innovation strategy. Future Factory addresses the issues of the sector's waste and environmental impact at every stage of a project life cycle. So that's from design and manufacturing processes to retail, to customer habits, and also activity at the end of a garment's life. Now, it's doing that by looking at how artificial intelligence and data analytics can be used to develop data-driven design tools, moving towards a right first-time design decision-making. And it helped to reduce overproduction and to minimize waste. It includes support for late-stage customization in manufacturing, and that enables personalized products to be produced quickly and cost-effectively. The factory is all about moving towards a viable circular economy using cost-effective recycling technologies. Now, in terms of implementation, next slide, please. It operates on 3 thematic platforms where research partners collaborate with digitally connected and sustainable processes, digital communication and data analytics, and skills and education, where the centre is leading. And finally, the project, as you see here, features a series of funding calls where companies can apply for support for 3 types of projects, where each company will work alongside academic and research partners on brand new applications. And as you see, that's about proof of market support with financial support up to £10,000, proof of concept up to £50,000, and implementation projects called industrial challenge projects up to £100,000. Many of those projects have also gone on to get support from regional and national innovation and also enterprise budgets, business support programs. And up to now, there's been 3 calls for projects. Something like 30 projects have been approved, and already the Future Fashion Factory has invested over £2 million. Now, I've no time to go into detail on that, but I just want to give you an idea of a handful of the relevant projects. With my last slide, please, Vincenzo. A company called Joshua Ellis is looking at recycling cashmere for new garment production. A big dyeing company is using digital technology to reduce lead time and waste. British Wool is producing environmentally friendly face coverings. Hydro Cotton are producing a new approach to growing sustainable cotton. Ruby Gym are recycling nylon for customized swimwear, top end. A company called Salty Co are producing vegan polyester. Your guess is as good as mine on that one, folks. A company called Vivo Barefoot are using new technology to design and produce short-run customized footwear.
2 minutes.
So to finish off, thank you, Paola. As Besnik said, the pandemic has generated a lot of awareness, more awareness and appetite for sustainable production and products, and illustrated the value of using digital technology. So we believe the relevance of the RESET project is increasing every day. I'd like to thank my partner, my friends in Prato, for including us in RESET. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Vincenzo, my lovely assistant, for the AV support. It's been a great project and we've made some good friends along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. That was great, really, and emotional in a way. And so we pass on to Carmen from the National Research and Development Institute for Textile and Leather in Bucharest. And we leave the floor to Carmen.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to present you Bucharest Ilfov Action Plan as a RESET project result for Romania. I will share my presentation. I have some problems, I don't know why. I will ask Vincenzo to help me with the presentation, please. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Next slide, please. Yes. INCDTP, the only Romanian project partner, is located in Bucharest Ilfov region and has implemented RESET project in Romania. A short overview of textile and clothing sector in Romania highlights the following characteristics and specificities of this industrial sector. There are strong points, there are also low points. It is a core economic sector nationwide, with elements of concentration in 4 Romanian regions. Also is an important job generator, currently about 165,000 employees, mainly women, representing 11% of total number of employees in the manufacturing industry. Also, it has a significant share in the national export economy, 6% for 2018. There are 4 clusters for textile and clothing fields located in 4 regions in Romania. There are also low points, as I told before. It's dependent on imports of raw materials. It has a low volume of production of the primary sector. It's registering a low share of high technology investments. Next slide, please, Vincenzo. Regarding the needs and challenges, textile and clothing industry in Romania is a traditional low-skilled, low-tech branch. The main weaknesses of innovation and technology transfer in Romania are little cooperation between companies and R&D institutions, low level of SMEs involvement in knowledge transfer activities, and low technology transfer rates. The major needs and also challenges are to increase SMEs' competitiveness, supported by investments in highly innovative technologies and their transfer, and to create a strong network between regional, local authorities, clusters, R&D institutes, university, and other stakeholders. These are great challenges for Romanian textile industry, and the opportunities are related to the access to European and national funds and to exchanging with good practices developed by European countries. In this context, RESET project provided a great opportunity for us to transfer to Romanian textile and clothing companies the new knowledge, methods, and technologies learned during the interregional learning process, and to influence the policy instrument through the implementation of new projects. Next slide, please, Vincenzo. INCDTP defined an action plan valorizing the background collected from the lesson learned during the RESET implementation, as well as valorizing the cooperation with other partners and regions by working together with various stakeholders. The policy instrument addressed is the Regional Operational Program, and the action plan included 2 actions. Action 1, to develop and implement new projects inspired by good practices coming from RESET project, and Action 2, to develop and implement new projects inspired from RESET good practices with European, national or international funds for promoting sustainable textile and clothing value chains. Next slide, please, Vincenzo. Regarding the implementation of this action plan, I would like to present you 3 important collaborative research projects developed by our institute together with 3 SMEs from textile and clothing sector. First project, Care Needs Project, aimed to developing new processes and products for the company, production of functional knitted textiles, and introduction of a new ecological finishing technology to one company, Dața Textile SRL. This project was influenced and based on good practice presented by ITEX from Spain. The project proposal was submitted for funding, and the project was accepted as eligible for financing. Unfortunately, under pandemic conditions, the number of contracted projects within the call innovative technological project was greatly reduced. Therefore, the company is very interested in purchasing the equipment and implementing this good practice, and is preparing to resubmit the project for financing from the Structural Funds Program with a February 2021 deadline. Another project, innovative IT technology for design and personalization of protective personal equipment, is developed with the company Mentor SRL, and another project, innovative concept for personalized pattern design of protective personal equipment, is developed even with another company, Matei-Conf Group SRL from Romania. These two projects were inspired and influenced by good practice presented by CITEVE and also Lodz region from Poland. The projects were funded, and the two companies developed other two projects in order to be able to support the acquisition of the equipment and installations necessary for transferring the research results. Next slide, please. For Action 1, I would like to present two R&D ongoing projects developed by our institute through the National Research Program. First project, CIMA-LOG Pro project, Advanced Multifunctional Logistic Communications and Protection Systems to improve the safety, operability, and efficiency of emergency workers. The project was inspired and influenced by good practice presented by CITEVE. And other project is Biopantex project, focused on integrated multifunctional systems based on nanocomposite and pharmacodynamics therapeutic agents for various skin conditions. It was inspired and influenced by good practice presented by ITEX from Spain, nanostructured textiles to promote cell growth in severe burn injuries. The project Biopantex is in phase of the development of the biomaterial for the treatment of inflammatory skin diseases by including a therapeutic agent on the textile support through an appropriate carrier system. Next slide, please. Yes, for Action 2, we would like to present Fairtex project. This is a collaborative research project developed by our institute together with a large textile company, Tanex SRL, and also a SME, Romanian SME, manufacturing plastics and polymers, Monofil, which is the coordinator of this consortium, together with 3 partners from Korea, is an Eureka project. This project was inspired and influenced by good practice presented by Klatex from Czech Republic. The project aims to develop and validate new textile providing health and well-being to the users. As you see, it is an ongoing project with a total budget of 325,000 euros. Next slide, please, Vincenzo.
2 minutes, Carmen.
Yes. The main territorial impact of the action plan is demonstrated by the increased number of SMEs, an increased number of new R&D projects, a strong networking of regional stakeholders, and for the 2 SMEs, the promoting of innovative textile resulting from R&D projects developed together with R&D centers. Next slide, please. RESET project was a challenge for INCDTP, first project in this program with the Institute as partner of the consortium. INCDTP has been able to increase its knowledge on 6 topics which are key pillars of innovation in the European textile and clothing industry. And also, we consider extremely useful the mixture of methods and the combination of activities for exchange of experience, all dissemination activities that contributed to a stronger network at European level. I would like, next slide please. I would like to thank to Besnik, to Mr. Bekmeti, the manager of this project, and also Comune di Prato, and to all our collaborators for the great work we did together, and hope to maintain our collaborative relationships in the future. Count on us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmen. That was very, very impressive. Thank you. And we come now to the next action plan by Leonardo Marchetti, who will present the action plan drafted by the municipality of Prato and Next Technology Tecnotessile in Prato as well. Leonardo, the floor.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here for me. I tried to share my screen. I hope it works. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I would like to present Next Technology Tecnotessile. I work for this research center, which is based in Prato since 1972, and we are specialized in textile sector. In
Leonardo, just a second, because your presentation, actually your screen is visible, but not the presentation.
No? What do you see?
Now we don't see anymore your screen. We see the speakers.
I try to do it again, sorry.
Select the right window when you share the screen. That's important. Select the second window, sorry.
It's okay now?
Just a second. Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Next Technology Tecnotessile was one of the partners of the project, and we cooperate with the project coordinator, the municipality of Prato, that you know them very well. They don't need any kind of presentation. Regarding Tecnotessile, as I was saying, we are specialized in the research activity for textile sector. We cooperate a lot with, especially with small and medium companies that are located here in Prato, but not only in Prato, all around Italy. And we support traditional textile company, technical textile company, but also machinery, textile for machinery producer, and so on. So we develop several projects for support the innovation inside small and medium companies.
Leonardo, please go full screen. You can go from the menu. From Vista, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a down. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. So going back to the RESET project, the aim of the project, was the generation of a policy change in the implementation of regional policies and programs of the structural fund in order to strengthen research, technological development, and the innovation. So the final goal was to assure the sustainability of the textile and clothing sector in each partner regions. And this was possible through policy learning and capacity building activities on public policy supporting, innovating, green and sustainable textile and clothing production and processes. About our region, the context of where we try to implement and to get good results coming from the experience of RESET project. Prato is located in the Tuscany region, so the district of Prato is one of the most important in Europe for textile sector. There are around 40,000 workers in the sector, almost 7,000 companies, and so it's very relevant industries for the region. And here you can see some of the features of the textile district. So the industrial system is based on the division of production among independent small and medium companies that are specialized in specific activities, so spinning, twisting, warping, weaving, and so on. Also, the clothing industry is becoming more and more important in the area, but it is also very relevant the presence of technical textile producers. So for different kind of technical textile, for medical textile, textile for building, textile for agriculture, and so on. It is important to underline that in the district you can find every stage of textile production. So this is a very important asset for the production, for textile production. So just to give you some data, some figures, Prato in every 6 months develops 2,000 new yarns and 60,000 new textile design. And every year, Prato textile industries produce around 90,000 tons of yarn, 300 million meters of cloth, more than 100 million meters of technical textile. So there is a great production of textile yarns and this kind of products. And most of the products are exported to all over the world, to Europe mainly, United States and Japan. Going back to the goal of the RESET project, we, in line with the municipality of Prato, we addressed the policy instrument of Tuscany region, ERDF, the Regional Operation Program, 2014-2020, and the main goal of the program were the smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth and economics, social and territorial cohesion through by increasing investment on research and innovation process. Most of this support activity fall under Axis 1, so strengthening research, development, and technological innovation. So the final goal was to improve the regional business system, to increase the availability of qualified human capital, and to boost the cooperation between companies and R&D center. What we did to try to get the result, we used an instrument made available from Tuscany region, which it is a specific call for proposal for research and development project, which was published on May 2017. And thanks to this opportunity offered by Tuscany region, we were able to develop 3 projects that were inspired by some good practices presented in the frame of the thematic seminar of the RESET project. These 3 projects are called Novifra, Naneco, and Comfort Pro, and I'm going to show you some details now. The first one is called Novifra project. Novifra is the study implementation of innovative system for the improvement of well-being and living condition of the so-called biologically fragile user, that is based on raising the effectiveness of non-pharmacological treatments. So the main goal of the project was the development of a system for monitoring the safety and orientation of these fragile users, so in order to support non-pharmacological therapies. The other main goal was the study and realization of innovative garden for these fragile users with non-pharmacological therapeutic functions. The system will be based on a non-invasive tracking technology and will be able to support, orient, and monitor the patient that are hosted by health center and similar place. This function will allow also to support the well-being and security of this patient, representing an effective help to non-pharmacological therapies. This project was the partner of this project were 4. The lead beneficiary, the project coordinator, was Generali Redaventi, which is a company that was in charge of the study and development of the equipment of the furniture, which incorporated the element of guidance. Then there is Giardineria Italiana, which study and develop the outdoor equipment and that create test a garden for the fragile user. Then there is EO, which is a software company, so they develop the software for the data processing. And then we also, Next Technology Technotesting was one of the partners, and we support the activity for the selection of the right technology and the support in the testing phase.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay. The inspiring project there were two good practice that inspired this project. The first one was Smart Textile for Wearable Technology that was presented by STFI, and the second one was the one presented by CT, from wearable to smart textile. Both these GP were presented during the thematic seminar in Chemnitz about smart textile. I skipped some slides because I have no time, as Paolo remember. The second project is NanEco, which is about the development of panels and nanotechnology for acoustic adjustment in public buildings. The main goal is the development of innovative panels using nanotechnologies with excellent performance in terms of acoustic and climatization of ambient. The company which implemented the project is Manifattura Maiano, which is based in the Prato, is very important technical textile producer. And also Next Technology Technotest was involved as the subcontractor. And this project was inspired by the good practice presented by ITEX about nanostructured textile to promote cell growth. Even in the case of NanEco, the use of nanochemicals is nanofibers is much different, but the inspiration came from this one. And the last project implemented thanks to the experience gained with the RESET project is Comfort Pro, which is about the development of an automated process for the production of a mattress prototype with high degree of thermophysiological comfort made from textile waste material. So the main goal of the project was the development of a mattress of 3D composite based on recycled materials. The development of a shell that will be made of a fabric that was able to give anti-odor properties, and the development of automatic machine lines for the stitching of the shell and the assembly of the mattress and its packaging. There were four companies involved: Technoplans, Montenero, FF, and Next Technology Technotest as a consultant. The inspiring GP came from the first thematic seminar held in Alcoy in Spain. You can read them on the screen, and that's it. I think these three projects represent very good results of that come from RESET project, because the good practice presented were really inspiring and offered the opportunity to create this interesting project, in my opinion. And that's it, Paolo.
Thank you so much, Leonardo. That was great. I want to reassure all listeners and participants that the presentations will be made available on the RESET website, and all the speakers can be contacted for follow-up and further investigations. So next comes Oscar Calvo from the Textile Research Institute ITEX, close to Valencia, for the Valencian Action Plan. Oscar, the floor is yours.
Okay, Paolo, thank you very much. And welcome to all of you that are following the final conference of RESET project by online. So I will try to share my presentation. Okay, I think, can you see the presentation?
Go full screen and we see it very well. Yes, just go full screen if you can.
So I will present you the main results and deployed actions that we perform in the frame of RESET project and in the frame of the development of the action plan.
Can you go full screen, Oscar? Oscar, can you go full screen? You will.
Yeah, sure.
That's already okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, fine.
So I will start with a short introduction with some figures about the textile sector and the Valencian textile sector and ITEX, before to present you the structure and the results of the action plan. So as Paolo say before, we are located in Spain. The Valencian region is located in the east of Spain, and more or less more than 20% of the Spanish textile companies are located in our region. So more or less the 15% of these Valencian companies are specialized in exportation of the products, and the Valencian textile industry represent around the 3% of the total turnover of the whole Valencian industry. So the textile sector in Valencia is very, very important. It provides a lot of working force and specialized products together with Catalonia, that are the two main Spanish regions in Spain, specialized in textiles, mainly home textiles, the knitting goods, and also finishing processes. So more or less in Valencia there are around 150 textile companies that are specialized in finishing processes. And about ITEX, we are the main textile institute in Spain, providing 3 different types of services to the textile industry. The first one is the lab testing and certification, and the second one is the research and development and support to textile companies to reach new products, to produce new textile products. 5 different researching groups. And the third main action, the third main area in which ITEX is specialized is training of textile workers and personnel directly involved with the textile industry. So taking into account this background about the Valencian textile industry and also the textile services provided by ITEX, we developed the structure of the Valencian action plan, also taking into account the profile of the Valencian textile companies. Fortunately, for example, they are not fully specialized, or there is not an existing cluster on composite materials, for example. They are more focused on home textiles and the production of knitting goods, interior designs, outdoor finishing process. So the structure of the action plan was developed thinking in this profile of the Valencian textile companies. In addition, thanks to a stakeholder, IFEDES, that collaborated with ITEX during the first phase of the project, we performed a research study about the needs and the interest of the Valencian textile companies about sustainability, about innovation, etc., in the frame of the 6 main themes of RESET. And the Valencian textile companies expressing their interest mainly in textile and waste recycling, the saving of water and energy, and also some interest was provided by the companies about new chemicals or sustainable chemistry. So the structure of the action plan was developed following these main issues provided by this request we performed to the Valencian companies through this kind of study. So the structure of the action plan was divided in 2 different actions. The first one was the monitoring of already approved projects, following this kind of structure, performing some meetings with companies, with some reporting, and following the needs for industrialization of these already approved projects. And the second action was performed with the main idea of submit and present new projects inspired by RESET good practices. More or less same structure that the action one, but taking into account that in this second action, we directly submit and present new projects. We not pay attention to already approved projects like in the first action. So with these two different actions, we deploy the action plan, and the main results of these two actions were 12 different projects developed by companies, so industrial projects, in which ITEX was always involved, collaborating technically with the company to support them to develop the different projects. In this table, you can see here some examples and the name of the projects. For example, you can see here a couple of projects that were inspired by the good practice presented by the colleagues from England, from TCO, about technologies that don't use water-based chemicals, but they use gas for treatment and functionalization of textiles. So these two different companies, Industrias Vitex and Ferre, develop their own projects, taking into account this kind of good practice, one using ozone and the other one using CO2 gas for functionalization of textile materials. Other examples of textile companies that develop projects inspired by good practices on RESET. This company, Dadaip, that developed this kind of garment-like, denim-like garments, but not for fashion purposes, but for sport practice, based on the detox good practice provided by the Italian colleagues during the international learning event number 3.
2 minutes.
Thanks, Paolo. And the second list of approved and funded projects, you can see here the list and the table describing each of them. One of the last projects that were submitted and approved is directly linked with the current sanitary situation with the COVID. It's a project that is still running, that is developed by Industrias Vitex. This focused on contract textiles, digitally printed, but also functionalized to provide some protection against virus, against coronavirus, and providing antiviral activity. So each project from the Action 1 or from the Action 2 were previously inspired in part by good practices presented along RESET project. So, for conclusion, as a closing remarks, ITEX is very happy to participate in this project because with this learning of good practice, we have contributed to increase the technological level, also the product portfolio, supporting textile companies to develop new products, and also we have contributed to increase the sustainable profile of the Valencian textile companies. Also, the Valencian textile companies are transmitted to ITEX that this kind of sustainable processes they have learned, combined with technical improvements, are critical to compete with other emerging countries, with other other countries, other sectors, but not only to compete, but even to survive with the current situation. About quantification of the results, up to 12 industrial projects have been developed by 10 companies. At the beginning of the project, we expect seven companies developing projects, so we are happy to reach this result. And we have mobilized more than 100,000 euros directly influenced by RESET through the Valencian Regional Operative Program. And of course, the structure of RESET project could be even replicated in other European large industrial sectors like chemistry, ceramics, furniture, footwear, etc. So, for closing the presentation, happy to collaborate with all the RESET partners, and hope to see all of you again in other projects in the frame of Interreg program. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Oscar, for these beautiful results, also emphasizing the importance of quality and attention to social well-being in these difficult times. So we go on with Romy Naumann from the Saxon Textile Research Institute to present the Saxonian Action Plan. Romy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paolo. Vincenzo, could you please share my presentation? Mille grazie. Good morning to the audience. I would like to present the Saxon Action Plan elaborated and implemented during the past 2 project years. Next slide, please. The title of our action plan is supporting the Saxon textile and clothing sector by innovation and know-how transfer. And this already shows the main intention of our action plan, which is focused on strengthening the regional SMEs of the textile and clothing sector, which is very strong in the federal state of Saxony. The action plan is embedded in different strategies and policy instruments, as already mentioned by Besnik. The first one is the ERDF program for Saxony. The second one is the research innovation strategy for smart specialization, which is a link between traditional innovative branches and future technologies having a high growth potential. And the third one we used for our action plan is a German national funding program, the Central Innovation Program for SMEs, where SMEs can cooperate with research institutions, and the program is focused on the development of new products and innovative technologies. Next slide, please. The background for our action plan was set in the project RESET project documents, and the target key factor have been the submission of 4 research projects. And the basis for this, to find new project ideas and to initiate new R&D projects, we got from the interregional learning process with the thematic seminars in the first part or in the first 3 years of the RESET projects. At these events, good practices were presented by the project partners, and afterwards there has been a staff exchange period where it was possible to deepen the knowledge and to transform the lessons learned into actions. Following the competences of our institute, we selected from the key topics the topic recycling, smart textiles, and new materials and new applications, where we are focused on for our R&D projects. Next slide, please. So how the action plan was implemented. Based on the seminars and workshops and the staff exchange, we did a comprehensive technical analysis of all the good practice examples to assess the to assess the potential for our regional SMEs, and assessment criteria were, for instance, innovative degree, sustainability, benefit for the SMEs, or the future market potential. Then we got in contact with stakeholders from industry, from research, and other institutions, and present the good practice examples to interested Saxon SMEs at different events and discussion rounds. And finally, we came to different ideas for projects, and the proposals have been elaborated, and the proposals have been submitted to the funding programs. Next slide, please. So I will shortly present you 4 examples for our R&D project. The first one has been influenced by the thematic seminar Recycling and Textiles and Waste Disposal in Spain, and it dealt with the development of a new technologies to produce reinforced nonwoven from recycled carbon fibers. This follows the idea of recycling of raw materials to reutilize it, and the production of nonwovens from recycled carbon fibers, and the nonwovens have been used for to produce substrates from carbon fibers for the further production of lightweight components. And the advantage is that the carbon fibers could be embroidered at the substrate, and less material is used, and a waste reduction and a better resource efficiency could be achieved. Next slide, please. There was another project funded by the ERDF, which is on technical textiles, so-called load-bearing structures, which can be used for flexible technical applications such as roofs or building parts or tents, for instance, or other architectural structures. And the idea was to go away from the static nature of such products to come to a flexible structure to change and adapt their shape or geometry to the application which they can be used for. Next slide, please. Yes, then we also created or established 2 cooperation networks, national cooperation networks. The first one is the Refotex, which is on new technologies for textile recycling. 4 research institutions and 10 SMEs from the textile and clothing industry bundle their competencies and experience, and to find new solutions for recycling technologies, to reutilize materials, and to find closed material cycles to give a contribution to the circular economy. Next slide, please. And there is another cooperation network in the field of health and rehabilitation textiles, and this is same to bundle the skills and experience from different companies and research institutions, but here in this case in the field of textiles for orthopedics and smart textiles, which can be used in the care sector. Next
2 minutes, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Finally, we have reached the target from the RESET project. We created 4 R&D projects funded by ERDF. Then we have 2 national cooperation networks, and ongoing or in progress are further cooperations out of the good practice examples with international and national partners to create further new projects in the near future. Next slide, please. Yes, and finally, the Saxon Action Plan and its territorial impact from the mutual learning process and know-how exchange, which we got from the good practice examples. Networking with regional stakeholders could be created following or led to the initiation of projects and cooperation networks where we could bundle know-how and experience in joint projects, finally leading us to the support of the textile, Saxon textile clothing and textile sector. Next slide, please, and last slide. I also would like to thank you at first for the attention, and secondly I would like to thank you all the partners for the good cooperation, and also our Italian coordinator. It was a great pleasure to work with you, and it would be a great pleasure to work with all of you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Romy. Of course, the pleasure is mutual between us to meet again in better times, hopefully. And thank you for the excellent presentation. So we pass on to Paulo, our friend Paulo Cadeia in Region Norte of Portugal from the Technological Center for Textile and Clothing of Portugal, CITEV. Paulo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paulo. Good morning to everyone. I start to share my screen. First of all, let me thank to the coordinator of the project, Mr. Besnik, to give me the opportunity to present the action plan for the region North. So just 2 slides to make an introduction or to give you the background of the action plan of this action plan for the region North. As you know, the objective is through the participation of textile and clothing industry in R&D and innovation sustainability area of the projects is to influence the regional policies. In that case, the policy of Portugal, the Portugal 2020, that I will explain later. So we are the Portuguese Technological Center. We born 30 years ago. At this moment, we are a group composed by the Textile Technology School and the Center for Nanotechnology and Materials. We are non-profit entity but private. Our shareholder almost is composed by companies. More than 80% of companies has our capital. So looking for the Portuguese region, and in particular the North region, what type of region are we talking about? We are talking in the biggest region of Europe, as you can see in these graphics that some of you already know. We have around 50% of European employment indirect workers for the textile and clothing industry. More than 150,000 workers and around 6,000 companies that we have in this region. So how we developed this action plan? First of all, we need to set the objective, and the objective was to promote and stimulate higher participation that still is low. So we want to stimulate this higher participation of the textile and clothing industry and in R&D and innovation proposals through the policy instrument that we want to address, the Portugal 2020. So the policy context is the national thematic program, Portugal 2020, that is managed by the Portuguese authority Compet 2020. This is a policy context. This is a policy that is centered in the strengthening of research and technological development and innovation of all industries in Portugal. And what type of tools did we have? The tools that we had during this RESET project, in particular the first stage, was of course the workshops and seminars that we had the opportunity to participate and disseminate, but also the interregional learning events, the public dissemination of the project's developments, and in particular, very important, the best practices, the meetings with different national stakeholders. That are the tools. And our focus of the action plan was, of course, the 6 areas of the RESET project. 6 areas where we had the opportunity to exchange the good practices between each others, between the RESET partners, and to do dissemination of these best practices. And with that, collect some feedback and interest from the stakeholders, mainly the companies that are our first objective, to push them for the participation in R&D projects in the sustainability area. And with that, to expect to impact the policy instrument Portugal 2020. From the 6 areas that you see there in the slides, indeed, our companies, I need to say that our companies focus more in these 4 that are that has a circle, a red circle on that. So we disseminate through the Portuguese textile cluster, through companies, of course, research centers on universities, but also the national associations, the Portuguese national associations, but very important, the trade fairs and conferences. Motism, that is the biggest trade fair that we have in Portugal for textile and clothing, but also iTextile Summit, where we had also the opportunity to disseminate RESET projects. And of course, in the last, but also the very important, we have some meetings with national authorities, not only the Compet 2020 that manager in globally the policy, but also CCDRN, that is the manager authority below Compet, okay, but is the manager authority in the north of Portugal. So with all this dissemination, all these opportunities, during the first days of the RESET project, we had the opportunity to submit 6 projects in different areas. As you can see, we had the opportunity to submit projects in all different key thematic areas of RESET project: chemistry, eco-creativity, recycling, new materials, water, and smart textiles. Okay, we submit with based on best practices presented that you can see below each key theme addressed. And from these 6 projects, we got 4 projects approved. The 3 of them, the 3 that are on the left side of your screen, were approved during this first stage. And it was considered those actions, the actions to be followed and to be included in the action plan as examples for the other companies. So looking in a little bit in detail for these 3 projects that were proposals that were converted in projects. On the left side, we have, for instance, one of the projects that is IP vested, linked with the best practice presented by Cluxtex and addressed for smart textiles. Is a project that has the aim to develop innovative solutions for technical and functional clothing with intelligent multi-risk protections. Involved 2 companies and 2 research entities, and is planned to finish in November of this year. There was a 6-month delay due to pandemic situation, but we'll talk about that in the next slides. So
2 minutes. 2 minutes, Paolo.
2 minutes. Okay, thank you, Paolo. The other is Text Boost project that was based on eco creativity and natural fibers. Okay, also with a 6-month delay. The other and final, the action 3 is based on ITEX best practice. The use of algae wastes, and you can read is a big project of 2.8 million, and it's expected to end in September 2022. So we disseminate all of these activities through the companies, through the managing authority. We define for the second stage of the project some indicators, but as you know, a pandemic situation arrived. So with that, what we have that COMPET managing authority approved with the extension of all projects between 6 and 12 months. Most of the actions and the projects haven't finished yet, so it's impossible to get at this time or to fill the indicator. But in the other side, COMPET launched additional R&D and innovation calls to fight COVID-19, and we got high participation of textile and clothing companies, some of them influenced by RESET, I have no doubt. With the 9 innovation projects, 6 R&D projects involved with 18 companies, and 7 of them the first time they were involved in the project. So conclusions, for us, for CTF, for the regions, RESET has been an important tool indeed to increase the participation of SMEs companies, and the most important for us was the good practice presented in brainstorm, aligned with the several interests of the companies, allowed to boost new R&D and innovation opportunities. So the Portuguese textile clothing industry, I finish with that, increase the participation rate in Portugal 2020 policy, either in R&D or innovation activities, and for sure that this will influence it for the next framework of the policy. Thank you to everyone, and if you have any doubts, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo, for these very interesting results. Again, my impression is that all these projects from all of you are really going in the new directions of development of the textile and clothing industry, especially as regards circularity and attention to social needs. So we are late, not because of the last speaker, but because of the overall management by myself. We lost a few minutes. We start again at 10:35 after a good coffee and maybe some other vital needs. So see you in 15 minutes at 10:35. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, hello, I think I can start. Okay, so I will share my screen. Okay, so good morning. I hope you all enjoyed the online coffee break. So my name is Frederik Goethals. I'm a researcher at Centex Bell, and I will present now the Reservist project, which is a Horizon 2020 project. And the full title is Repurposing Manufacturing Lines for Providing Medical and Other Products and Services in Case of Spiking Demand Times. Now, first some background. So, as you all know, during the coronavirus outbreak, we can say that the world was not prepared. So hospitals were overwhelmed. And unfortunately, this is still the case in some regions. And the only way to reduce the pressure on the hospitals was to go in lockdown. And those lockdowns also led to an economic crisis as well. Also, of course, the textile industry was affected by this crisis and is still affected by this crisis. But on the other hand, there's also a high demand for personal protective equipment. The problem was, especially during the first outbreak, that the production of PPE was located outside the European Union. This means that there was a shortage of PPE in Europe. So to deal with this problem, European companies switched to the production of PPE and in particular to the production of face masks. That was also the case in Belgium, and there are also Belgian companies, of course, that switched to production of face masks, such as Ontex, Alsico, Sioun, and Deltrian. Besides that, also the European Textile Confederation, Eurotex, installed the COVID-19 platform to help the textile industry and the clothing sector to overcome the crisis. So they set up different initiatives in order to facilitate the production of protected garments at the European companies. They also monitoring the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on the TNC sector. They also are doing or making a strategy after the Corona crisis to see how the textile industry can go ahead again with production. And they are also in communication with the European Commission to stress that it's really important to support the textile industry in Europe. Also, testing labs were 7-on-7 to test the quality of the mask, and also new type of masks were introduced, the so-called community mask. And also for those new type of mask, a new label was created to let the customer know that it does the job and that it's safe to use. So also Centex Bell can approve this type of masks. But the question is, what after the COVID crisis? So now the vaccines are developed and vaccination campaigns have started. So we can expect that in 2021, so this year, situation will turn back to normal. Of course, like it was before, in normal situations, the production cost in Europe for PPE is too high. So what after this crisis, will the production switch again to Asia and not in Europe anymore? But then, of course, you can raise the question or ask the question, what will happen then when there is a new pandemic? So I think, and we believe there's a challenge to set up a new concept, methodology, to have a practical supply chain, and that can react when there is a need. So that's why we came up with the Reservist project, and I will explain now what the project is about. So the Reservist project aims to establish reservist cells that in time of crisis can be activated within 48 hours to switch to manufacturing of medical products and services that are spiking in demand. We defined 4 cells, namely textile PPE, respiratory ventilators, disinfection equipment, and emergency hospitals. So when there is a trigger, like a new pandemic, the cells will be activated and the involved partners in the network will switch to the production of the necessary products. We have defined 7 key objectives. So to realize this concept, we will first work in the preparation phase on 3 levels individually, namely the network level, the connected manufacturing, digital manufacturing level, and the technical level. The latter is referring to tweaking manufacturing lines to develop required materials and establish links with testing and certification institutes. Then we will demonstrate the repurposing of 5 existing manufacturing lines within 48 hours towards manufacturing of textile PPE, which includes surgical and respiratory face masks, but also medical aprons. Another one is the manufacturing of respiratory ventilators, and those are invasive and non-invasive respirators. And also we have to be sure that they comply with the necessary testing and certification. And we will also proceed with the embedment of the reservist cells at the partners in the network. We will also develop blueprints for further take-up and replication of the concept to other sectors. Within the project, we will also develop 2 replication demos, namely disinfection equipment and emergency medical equipment. And to support the cells, we will tap into worldwide maker community and into relevant open innovation test beds and networks. So this is the Reservist Consortium. It is a strongly industry-driven, so it includes 4 large enterprises and also 7 SMEs coming from 7 European countries. The following groups have been set up. So we have the Textile PPE Reservist Cell group in Belgium and Finland, which is supported by Centexbel as RTD, and also include industrial partners like Silyun, Deltrion, Suominen in Finland, and ScreenTech. Another one is the Respiratory Ventilators Reservist Cell group. It's located in Spain, and that one is supported by Idonial as research center, and is also included the manufacturing enterprises such as Norma and ArcelorMittal. Then we have also for the replication demo an automated disinfection equipment reservist cell in Spain, which is supported by the makers community through IAAC, and also as company included Nardi. Also, further multiplication beyond the project will be facilitated by textile platforms and also IAAC. And of course, the cells will be supported by a digital platform, which will be taken care of by Stamtech and VTT, and also supported by the testing certification organizations like Centexbel, VTT in Finland, and Mirtec in Greece. And of course, also end users will be actively involved in the development of this project. So this is the work plan. So in work package 1, it's all about setting up the network and logistics. So it's to create the network and also set up a business model and also define the operational protocols. Work package 2 is dealing with the digital connected manufacturing. So we will develop a digital platform for trusted data sharing among the network partners. Then work package 3 is manufacturing level. So there we will tackle aspects related to product redesign and adaptation of manufacturing lines so that it's feasible to switch to the production of PPE materials. Then we have work package 4, which is the demonstration phase. So that will be done at an operation level. And there we are aiming to bring the developments to TRL 7. Then we have work package 5. And it's about the embedding at company level of the reservist cells and to be sure that it can be qualified for reaching TRL 8. Work package 6 is then replication. So there we will create blueprints and ideation for replicating the reservist networks for further emergency scenarios. So it's not the aim only to tackle the COVID pandemic, of course, but also in the future, there are some other crises as well that we can also be prepared for that. And then work package 7 is about innovation management. That's to prepare the cells for the next steps and that you be indeed operational and qualified, and that we are there at TRL 9. So that was a bit in a nutshell the project that we are that we are busy to do. And here are some data related to the project. So it's a Horizon 2020 project. The type of action is an innovation action. The total budget for this project is about 6 million euros. And the funding from the European Commission is about 5 million euros. It started in December last year, and the duration is 2 years. And we as Centex Bell are the coordinator of this project. So yeah, if you have further questions or you have interest to be a part of the network, so of the backbone, because all the companies involved in the network, we also have need for suppliers, for companies that are doing the logistics and so on. So if you have some questions or some interest in that, you can contact my colleague Guy Buyle, who is the manager of the project. Or you can also contact myself. And we also have a website already installed, so you can also have a look at the website to find some more information on the project. So I thank you for listening to this presentation.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much to Frederick from Centex Bell for this very inspiring presentation about one of the many solutions that have been developed in the last year to fight the pandemic. Welcome to this second part of the final conference of RESET project. It is my pleasure to be moderating this session this morning. So the session, as you know, is about specific thematics for regarding the solutions that have been developed by some textile companies around Europe for the recovery, not for the recovery, but especially for the solutions that were required by the sudden outbreak and the pandemic spread all over Europe during this last year. So it is very important to underline that these are just some examples. And the RESET project was one very good tool that proved to be very useful to the textile and clothing environment across Europe, not only for the inspiration that it provided to companies, but also for the new ideas that were provided to policymakers all over the different regions, especially textile regions of Europe. So in one word, I don't want to make my introduction very long because I want to leave the word to our speakers. But there is one word I would like to say before start, and this is the something regarding textile and clothing sector. As you know, it is one of the most important in Europe, as it was said also during the first part of the final conference. And the textile clothing sector in Europe was heavily affected by the pandemic situation because companies experimented and are still experimenting heavy losses in terms of turnover, market shares, customers, affiliation, etc. But they also proved to be very flexible. Flexibility is the word that I would like to use. to specify that textile companies once again proved to be very flexible and ready to very fastly reply to the urgent needs that were imposed by the pandemic. Many textile companies, they rapidly shifted their production in order to start to produce, for instance, face masks. So they abandoned their traditional production regarding clothing or fabrics or yarns and moved to new productions like face masks. And this was very important. Now everybody is used to wear face masks. But last year, back in March, especially here in Italy, it was a big problem because we could not find them. These PPEs were not available on the market. And SMEs, especially in the textile sector, proved to be very fast and ready to adopt new solutions to provide the companies and to the people, in particular to the population, the devices that they were needed for fighting the pandemic. So thank you. I would like to thank the textile companies first, and then I want to pass over the floor to the speakers of this session. Thank you very much for being with us today. I would like to remind you that you have only 10 minutes each, so please try to stick to this plan. I will inform you when you will be about 2 minutes far from concluding your presentations, okay? So we have today here the most important research centers and technological centers in Europe for textile and clothing sectors, and they will provide us with some examples about what has been done in Europe in the textile clothing sector to try to support the crisis that is emerged recently because of the pandemic. So I would like to give, first of all, the floor to Ralph Taubner. I won't make any introduction because you will explain from which organization you come from.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Ralph, the floor is yours.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. I try to share the screen. First of all, here we go. Okay, I hope this should be big enough. Okay, so hello everybody to this mid-session of the research Interreg project. I would like to tell you a little bit about the action that SDFI took early last year. So basically we started in March to use our pilot lines for the production of extrusion nonwovens, spunbond and meltblown as so-called semi-finished products for mouth-nose masks. When the high demand in the society came up in the pretty early phase of this pandemic, early last year. First of all, it is important to know that there are existing two different kind of European normation regarding these different face masks that are existing. One is the so-called medical face mask, according to the European normation 14683, which are classified as a medical product. And on the other side, we have those filtering half masks to protect against particles, according to the European normation 149. And these type of masks are classified as a personal protection equipment. Both types, of course, already existed before the pandemic, but now it came very present as the pandemic came on. What should we know about these different kind of face masks that are existing? They have different protective requirements. First of all, the medical face masks are classified in type 1, 2, and 2R. Those face masks are basically designed for bacterial filter efficiency. And you see that they have a different kind of limit number that they should filter. And the special thing regarding the 2R classification is that they are additional to the 98% of the filter efficiency. They also need spray resistance. Also, according to the pressure difference and breathing resistance, there are certain numbers that have to be fulfilled. These are, basically these, they are measured in Pascal, and there are different kinds of testing procedures to actually find out if they have enough pressure difference and breathing resistance. Regarding the filtering mask on the other side, the so-called FFP 1, 2, and 3. FFP, everybody knows, but most of you probably do not know what it actually means. It's called filtering phase piece. Also, it's filtering half masks. This is the expression what stands behind the FFP. And the filter efficiency here is tested by a special aerosol medium. And you see the different classification between 80% for an FFP1 up to 99% for an FFP3. And here again is also the pressure difference and breathing resistance for inhalation measured to see if the masks are appropriate to the different classifications. Okay, so what did we do when we started with the production in mid-March last year? Basically, we started really without any special knowledge regarding this type of filtering materials for face masks. So of course, we are familiar with nonwovens, with melt-blown and spun-bond nonwovens, but we never made such kind of reduction. So important to know is that we have in general 3 different layers. We have an outside layer, we have a filtration layer in the middle, and we have a skin layer. The outside and skin layer consist of a spun-bonded nonwoven, usually 20 to 25 GSM, and a filtration layer is a melt-blown nonwoven, also in this area of basis weight, 20 to 25 GSM. So regarding the medical masks, type 1, 2, or type 2R, we offered to our customers, which were basically, a lot of them were really small, medium enterprises without any further experience regarding the converting of these kind of masks. So they needed really to know what kind of nonwovens they need from us. So we offered 2 different things for both types. So we offered single layers in spun bond, melt blown, and spun bond. Or for easier converting, we also put the melt blown layer on one of the spun bond layers and offered them an additional spun bond layer. And for the type 2R, you need an additional spun bond layer, especially on the outside of your mask. And this additional spun bond layer is especially for this spraying resistance that you need for the 2R classification. Here again, we found out that basically to convert your mask out of 4 different layers is even a little better than to have one MS layer already converted first and then put 2 spun bond layers on top, because of the breathing resistance that you create. For the filtering half masks, you need an additional melt blown layer in the middle, as your filtering capacity has to be higher compared to the medical masks. The general target for the requirements of these kind of masks is that you create on one side, of course, a high filtration efficiency. That's one point. But on the other side, you need also a high air permeability, at least that high that you have a low respiratory resistance, so a low breathing resistance, that people that actually carry your mask are able to breathe through the mask and still have the appropriate safety. Realized this target, the target is realized mainly by the melt-blown nonwoven layer or layers, and it has to be designed in an appropriate way. The air permeability that you create in your mask is mainly influenced in production by your spinneret on one side, so the number of holes is decisive, so how many filaments you actually put on the belt or on your created web that actually is the nonwoven at the end. The type of resin that you use, so which of MFR you actually put in your machine. The fabric weight, and also the process parameter. And especially for the meltblown, this is the so-called die collector distance. So that means this is the distance between your die and your belt. And therefore you create different kind of meltblown nonwovens with different type of air permeabilities. The filtration efficiency is mainly influenced by your static properties that you put into your nonwoven, your meltblown nonwoven. This has been done on one side by charging equipment. So you put charging on top of your surface of your meltblown. And for an additional long-lasting performance of your static nonwoven, it is important that you also put in additives for permanence into your
Ralph, you have 2 minutes left, okay?
Yeah. Okay, so the experience with layer design that we had, so what we offered to the SMEs that we had, we sold was spunbond and meltblown nonwoven either as single layer, S plus M, or as a combined SM. And the advantage for the converting companies was for the medical face masks, they had 2 instead of 3 layers to convert, and for filtering masks, it was 2 instead of 4 layers if we already pre-produced the SM together. The big disadvantage already mentioned is that you have a higher breathing resistance with this type of converting. Our experiences with the production of meltblown nonwovens was depending on what spinner rate we used, what MFR of meltblown material we used, which type of fabric weights we created, 20 GSM or 25 GSM. For FFP2, it was necessary to create 2 different 25 GSM layers. And of course, the charging was important. So we used 3 beams of minus 30 kilovolt electric charging, and we used an additive based on magnesium stearate. And to summarize, our support for local SMEs regarding our production is that we produced in the real hot phase of this early pandemic between March and July 2020 around 700,000 square meters for small, medium-sized enterprises in Saxony and Germany. And we preferably produced medical face and simple community mask. As for the FFP masks, you need a higher standard, which needs some kind of longer experience also for testing and certification. And until today, we are continuing the production for selected customers in a smaller scale than we started in early 2020. Okay, I think that's about it, what I can tell about our production regarding this type of face mask. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Thank you for sticking to the timing given. I would like to remind our followers on Facebook, YouTube, that they can leave their comments and we will try to give answers at the end of this session if the speakers will be so good to stick to their time given. Okay, so I pass on to Jan Buk from Pardam. It's a company from Czech Republic producing nanofibrous material. Jan, the floor is yours, and you have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this nice event. I will try to share my screen. Do you see my presentation? Hello?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Jan, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay, perfect. I just needed some feedback. So my name is Jan Buk. I am CEO of a company called Pardam Nano4 Fibers, and we are a company which has been on the field of development and production of nanofibers since 2009. For nanofiber development and production, we use quite unique technology, not like most of or all the producers of nanofibers. We use centrifugal spinning technology, which is different from electrospinning, which is well known. We can develop and produce unique materials in nanofiber structure. We speak about inorganic nanofibers and polymer nanofibers. We have unique products with added value, and we always develop final products based on nanofibers in close collaboration with our partners. We actually possess the unique know-how, as we have our own know-how on chemistry behind nanofiber production. We use solvent spinning technologies, so we are able to develop different solvent systems for spinning, or polymer solution systems for spinning, which are based on solvents. We have our own technology, which we are able to design. We have our own products, like final products based on nanofibers, which is also very important. We can implement different projects for our partners and develop new nanofibers on behalf of their requirements. That means if customers come to us and say, I would like to use biodegradable polymer nanofiber membrane for filtration, we always evaluate and say, okay, we can do that, or it doesn't make any sense. So this is actually our unique position on the market. If you speak about inorganic nanofibers, we are the only producer in the world, we like to say, who is focusing on production of wide range of nanofibers, inorganic nanofibers. Our technology is actually 17 times more efficient than electrospinning. It's much easier to control the production parameters. There is less production parameters comparing to electrospinning. We have possibility to produce 3D nanofiber structures, which opens the possibilities for new applications. The process is more economical and also ecological. If you speak about inorganic nanofibers, we were able to actually replace ethanol as a solvent by water. So we have much cheaper and greener process, and the technology is very variable. So actually it enables us to develop different structures, different type of products. And as you could see on the video, it is principle of making sugar candy. It's a very sexy way to make nanofibers. Our fiber diameter is somewhere around 200 to 500 nanometers, so it's not much higher than electrospun. The membranes produced by this technology have more open structure, so they are more breathable. Here is just a short introduction of type of nanofibers we produce. If we speak about inorganic nanofibers, we call them NNF serum. We make silicon dioxide, aluminum dioxide, zirconium dioxide, lithium titanate, strontium barium titanate. We make them all in 3D structures, which is globally unique. And we can also mill them down to powder-like structures. So those two types of products can be produced. If you speak about membranes, we call them nanofiber NNF membrane, and we can spin different polymers, various polymers like nylon 6, polyurethane. We can also spin some biodegradable materials like PHB, PCl, and currently we are also focusing on spinning of polysaccharides and biopolymers. Again, we can make those materials in 3D structure or polymer membranes. Today's topic is related to COVID. We have actually developed 4 years ago a respirator, which has great parameters, but last year in January, we decided to stop the project because we are not able to get this product on the market. We were not able to finish the certification. We were not able to upscale the production because there was no market. We were competing with 3M and all well-established producers. So we put the respirator into the shell, and suddenly, you know, in February, all this crazy stuff come out, and people were starting to ask, you know, you were making the respirators, you know, can you still make them? We by that time, we still had like capacity 2,000 pieces a month. It was manually made production. And all this miracle is based on nanofiber membrane with nylon 6. And as you can see on the picture, there is a difference between polypropylene or polyester spunbond fibers and nanofibers. So you see the number of fibers and the size of the pores. So with very thin layer of nanofibers, we are able to reach filtration efficiency up to 99% and with very low pressure drop. So this membrane actually has one big advantage comparing to melt-blown materials. Melt-blown materials are charged in order to get the filtration efficiency. If you breathe through the melt-blown material, as it gets wet, the filtration efficiency goes down. With the nanofiber membrane, the filtration is based on different principles. There is no high voltage charge. There is just the number of fibers and size of the pores. So this membrane can be used repeatedly. We have internal tests which are proving like 30 washing cycles of those products based on this unique membrane. Since spring 2020, we actually started producing nanofiber membrane for different products. So the fastest product in early spring last year was to use the nanofiber membrane and make filters which were used for pocket face masks, or it's quite popular, the neck gaiters in our country, where people are actually using the filters, inserting them into the standard cotton masks and improve the filtration efficiency of this product. So this was
you have 2 minutes left.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Beside that, we actually developed the FFP3 respirator. This is the shell type respirator. It's a no-valve, ergonomic, multi-use, light, comfortable, great fit factor, and both-way protection, because it protects user as well as the surroundings. And next, or at the autumn this year, we have developed the new lighter version of FFP2 community mask respirator. It's light, washable, comfortable, and it has different sizes. So at the moment, we have certificates for FFP3 and FFP2 nanofiber-based respirators. We have a production capacity for nanofiber membrane somewhere around 150,000 square meter per month. We have 3 production machines for nanofiber production, and for final product production, we were able to upscale the production into industrial level. We have capacity for FFP3 respirators up to 800,000 a month. Is a picture below. And the video you can see, it's a machine we've just installed for FFP2 respirators, and it has capacity 1 million respirators per month. So from 2,000 respirators in February, we now have more than around 2 million pieces a month capacity. So we've done great progress, and this is just my new project. This is handheld spinning device. So basically, you can hold this in your hand and you can spin nanofibers on different surfaces, like window screen protections, like food, or even skin. This is a new way of production of nanofibers, which we will explore more, and we want to commercialize this device this year. So basically, we call this do-it-yourself nanofibers because it's light, it's transferable, and it opens again new application areas to different industrial levels. So
Jan, you have to conclude. Sorry.
Thank you very much. That's everything from me. I just finished. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you very much. And I pass on now to the next speaker, Fernando Oliveira from CITEV. He's the Textile Research Center, Technological Center from Portugal. Fernando, now the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Enrico. I will try to share my presentation. Please let me know when it comes on the air. Are you watching the presentation?
Just one moment. Yes, now we can see it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So I am, my name is Fernando Oliveira. I work at the Department of Technology and Engineering from CITEV. As you said, CITEV is a technological institute that provides technological support and services to companies in the textile and the clothing business. And I am here a little bit to present you the project, the TMASK project, that was focused on the development of an automatic line for the production of surgical masks. We had already the first speaker, Ralph, who already presented this a little bit on this topic, but this is more an industrial project that was focused more on the development and production of production line that for the production of surgical masks. So I guess I don't need to explain to you how this item became indispensable to the everyday life for all of us in Europe and all over the world, with many countries regulating mandatory rules for the use of masks as a measure to protection against the spreading of the COVID-19 pandemic. So these items, the surgical masks, and the reusable masks became very widespread in the public use, and this, of course, generated a great increase in the demand for face masks, for which the supply system was not prepared, and especially at the first weeks or first months of the pandemic. At the time, CITEV, in its role as a promoter and facilitator of the textile companies and textile industry in Portugal, CITEV saw an opportunity to not only contribute to the production of masks, and this way help in the fight of the dissemination of COVID-19, but also saw an opportunity to create new local solutions for the production of these items, which were very dependent on the Asian market. So with a surgical mask production line that would be fully developed and produced in Portugal, we would create the necessary conditions for eventually other companies, other local companies in Portugal and the nearby countries to have easier access to this type of machinery and eventually adapt their production lines and even enter other areas of business if that's their strategy. For this purpose, CITEV needed a solid partner to go on with this project. So we got in touch with the Portuguese leader in textile machinery, a company that we knew it had the right experience and the right tools, the right engineering capabilities to be up to the challenge that was proposed. You may know them. They are ROQ. And just to give a small overview of the company, they are located in the north of Portugal, a few kilometers away from CITEV. They have almost 40 years of experience, and sorry. And right now they're the global leader in terms of textile printing and digital textile printing and packaging machinery. directed to the textile industry. From the first moment, ROC accepted the challenge, and together we created a project that had the main goal of developing a machine to produce inline and automatic surgical masks according to certification parameters to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, with specific requirements that I will present to you in the following slides, and of course with the great goal of expanding the productive capacity of these items, both nationwide and Europe-wide eventually. We build for this project. We build a timeline for a 4-month project, a small amount of time that included every stage of a normal project: the preliminary studies, definition of technical and specifications and requirements, and of course the research and development phases and the construction of the final prototype for validation. In the beginning of the project, I think that I will show you next is we started by the definition of some specific requirements for the machine. I will first go over the general control and functioning of the equipment, and to start by saying that the main objective for this project was the construction of a fully automatic production line with a simplified control system and a very intuitive interface for use by the companies. Furthermore, we also wanted to go a little further, and in this aspect, when compared to the solution that were found in the market, and we consider it as an important feature to the monitorization and the control of the equipment, by means of the adoption of Internet of Things and Industry 4.0 solutions. We thought that it made great sense to include these kind of solutions in such an equipment that allowed an easier control and an easier management of the production. Going forward, in terms of the surgical masks that the machine produces, we defined that it should be prepared to produce both type 1 and type 2 masks with a high degree of quality that obviously would result in certified products. In the first stages of the pandemic, CITEV was very active in the definition of performance requirements and the certification of personal protective equipment. So we have already the knowledge and about all the parameters, the materials, the design, the dimensions, etc., that would lead to a face mask with the necessary requirements for certification and for use by the general population. So, and the next step, when thinking about the design of the machine, it was thought at the time to include the possibility of achieving masks with 4 fabric layers, namely non-woven materials, the common materials that are used in this kind of item. And was also studied the possibility of developing the equipment in order to consider the possibility of producing reusable masks, for instance, with a polyester fabric. After these considerations, other basic requirements of the equipment were the automatic integration of the nose clip, the ear loop, and
Fernando, you have less than 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you. I will go faster, and then achieve a continuous production up to 100 masks per minute, and the possibility of combination with a system for automatic packing that was already available by the company, by ROC. So the essential results of the project are presented here in this drawing. The workflow of equipment was discussed during this stage of the project, and this led to the definition of the sequential steps of the machine. the definition of what tasks come first and what tasks come after. There was a great deal of research about some essential and specific mechanisms to be included in production line. And we also took advantage of the company's experience in the field to include some features that were based in the previous knowledge of the company in the textile machinery field. More specifically, this is the equipment. I will start by highlighting the control unit. Then the system of overlapping layers of non-woven, making the pleats, systems for integration of the nose clip, for ultrasonic welding of the edges of the mask, for cutting the mask with the appropriate dimensions, both distribution and transport for separate sides, for then apply the ear loop placement, for apply the ear loop with the system of automatic system for ear loop placement, and then finally a piling unit for then adapt a packaging system. So I had here a small video. I don't know if it's possible to pass. I had a longer video. This is just a small say that the project has achieved its main objectives, that were the successful production of a certified face mask, both for disposable and also reusable. The machine was already tested for production of polyester reusable face masks with success. I will present a little bit also of the outcomes, the social outcomes. Of course, we contribute to help the fight against COVID-19 and provide means for other companies to help in this fight as well by creating a 100% European product that is provides easier solutions for other companies to adapt their production or enter new areas of activity.
Sorry, Fernando, you have to close your presentation.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So I will close. I will just close by saying that the company already sold a few machines in Portugal and Spain, and they are looking forward to sell even more. So just the final considerations of the project. Finally, I would like to thank everyone involved in the project, my colleagues at CITEV and the company ROC, and thank you for listening, and sorry for the delay.
No problem. I think you made a very comprehensive presentation. So if anybody wants to ask questions or get into more details about the topics that have been presented by the speakers, they can always refer to them or to the coordinator team through the project website. About this, I would like to point out, following also some questions in the public chat, that the presentations that you can see today will be also uploaded on the RESET project website, which is exactly www.interregeurope.eu/reset. So you will see the presentations also starting from tomorrow in the official web page of RESET project. You have to Google Interreg Europe RESET and you will be directed to the project web page, okay, which is inside the Interreg Europe portal. So now it is the time to give the floor to Oscar Calvo from ITEX, the Technological Center for Textile Sector in Spain, who is going to talk about the testing service that ITEX has provided to their members and to textile community in Spain. Oscar, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes, remember, okay?
Okay, Enrico, thank you very much. So I think you can see the presentation, right?
No, not yet. And now, yes, now we can see it.
Okay. So as Enrico said, I will introduce you a summary of the main testing services and the main work performed by the ITEX along these first months of the pandemic, mainly in the first months of 2020 that were very, very intensive in terms of lab testing and certification of several protective materials. So first of all, a short chronology about when ITEX started to work. The main work started when people worldwide perceived that a shortage of protective equipment, not only masks but also gowns, face mask, glasses, etc., was occurring during due to the pandemic. So in mid-March, the Spanish government, at least in Spain, recognized the shortage of PPS for medical workers, and of course for general public. Now all of us, we are using face mask as another garment. But you can imagine at the middle of March, end of March, this kind of product was not available, not for medical workers, with a clear shortage of masks imported from Asia, but even for general public. So this is the general context in Spain. We face about the first months of the pandemic. So starting on mid-March of the last year, the first months were the most intense and stressful that the ITEX staff has experienced ever. The microbiology lab, the medical textiles management unit, the APPA lab service, and the personal protective equipment lab service have been working very, very hard 24/7 each day from March even to June in order to perform the required homologation task and all the tests that were required from Spanish and foreign companies in order to have the proper results and the proper certification on each textile and non-textile protective product. ITEX was the only option available at national level for the homologation and manufacture of masks and mainly surgical gowns at the beginning of the pandemic, so the beginning and middle of March. About the testing services that were performed and are still performed by the microbiology laboratory, the testing and the approval of surgical masks, mainly for medical workers, and also the lab testing of the hygienic or the community mask for general public. Single-use mask, and of course the washable or the reusable mask, in accordance with this kind of standards. These kind of standards were unexisting in March. So ITEX also participated in the creation of this kind of standards for this kind of special textile product, this kind of reusable mask that were unexisting worldwide before the pandemic. So the product didn't exist, but also the standards for testing also didn't exist. And we were in charge of the creation of this kind of standards, and we participate also at European level in the workshop agreement for establishing the characteristics for Europe, not only for Spain. This kind of face masks were the workhorse through the pandemic due to the shortage of manufacturers, and all the imports were required also to be certified. And the standards for hygienic masks were non-existing, and not a specialist machinery was found in the market, or even the know-how for manufacturing was unable. So the Valencian textile companies also in Spain were fast, and they start to work hard and quickly in order to provide this kind of end products to customers. In the case of this kind of surgical mask, due to the shortage, even with not available imports for this kind of end products, ITEX was able to develop this kind of prototype of surgical mask at 5-layer type that was able to be manufactured by 5 Valencian textile companies at the end of March. So the textile companies respond very, very fast to this suggestion we done in developing this kind of prototype, and these prototypes were immediately made public and available to the websites of the Valencian government and also the national government, the Spanish government. And regarding the protective equipment, so we were able to test all the respiratory masks with the different standards. Also, this kind of protective equipment specifically for COVID protection, not only the general respiratory protection. The face and eye protectors were also tested at ITEX, and different types of gloves and gloves for chemical and biological protection. The main issues we experienced with this kind of more professional protection devices were the large number of requests we received, mainly from importations from China. Again, the national production was not with any capacity to produce this kind of products. So all the imports were required to be tested prior to be put in the market this kind of products.
Oscar, also for you 2 minutes, okay?
Okay. So the cooperation between public and private entities was very important to start the work producing this kind of end products. In Valencia, before 2020, the medical textile clustering was non-existent. So now we have created a good structure to produce this kind of end products with the collaboration of public entities and also private entities. Luckily, we have recovered most of the textile workers that were without work at the beginning of the pandemic. So they were reaccepted in less than 60 days at the end of May, more or less. Now, main Spanish companies are capacity to develop surgical masks. And Ateval has created this kind of website to put in contact offers and demands of medical and protective products. And for closing the presentation, very short examples about the technological adaptation of Valencian companies. The five companies you have listed here were the first companies capacity to develop the ITEX surgical mask prototype at the end of March. Euromoda was one of them, was able to install this kind of production line in a very short time to produce surgical and commodity or hygienic mask using non-wovens and also tested and certified fabrics. Also, Milarosa, there is another example of a Valencian company that is still a company that is producing home textile and bed linen, but they were able to readapt the machinery to produce this kind of respiratory mask, surgical mask, hygienic mask, etc., and even disposable gowns. And even ITEX has contributed with a kind of researching project in order to test some indicator labels that are useful to assess some disinfection technologies against the coronavirus, because we were able to develop this kind of bioindicator that is very similar in structure, size, and morphology than the SARS-CoV-2. This kind of bioindicator is filled with color, and when we provide some heat, that the temperature is able to inactivate the virus, this kind of bioindicator that simulates the coronavirus is able to release this kind of color applicating heat, and the colored labeling indicates that this kind of disinfection system, in this case heat, is feasible to provide some disinfection properties to garments that have been heated or ironed. So this kind of project is still running, but is another example of research in actions in the frame of the pandemic.
Okay, Oscar, I need to ask you to conclude.
Sure. Last slide for closing remarks. The textile sector in Valencia has demonstrated to be resilient, being adapting quickly to the new situation, also being able to reactivate the production lines. But the current situation is not enough to face this new year and future years. So textile companies and the Valencian textile sector is requiring to strengthen the local industry and not be so dependent of imports through the promotion of innovation, the design, quality, sustainability, etc., and also the certification, and also requesting for European funds. Of course, the help from Europe regarding new project, new funds will be very, very useful and necessary to keep the textile sector, not only in Valencia and Spain, but even around Europe.
Oscar, there is a question coming from one of the other speakers. Can you certify also FP3 masks?
We have part of the test, but I think not the full test that are required. But if the people requesting the information want more specific info, can contact me by email or phoning directly ITEX.
Very good. Thank you very much, Oscar. Thank you. And now we have the presentation of another very interesting project performed by CITEVE, the Technological Center in Portugal. So I will give the floor to Augusta Silva. Augusta, you can make the presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Enrico.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I'm sharing. Just a second, please. Can you already see the presentation?
Not yet.
And now?
Nope.
I'm seeing, I'm already seeing.
No.
I don't know. I have done correctly. I can try again. It's here.
No. Yes. Now we can see it. Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you very much. Can I start?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I'm going to present the most important results from the project COVID Tech for Life. Okay. This project started in June 2020 and it will end in February 2021. Can I go further, please? I want to go further.
I think you have the control of your slides.
I don't. Yes.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to present the consortium. The consortium is composed by Tintex, is a Portuguese company very specialized in jersey fabrics, including water-based coating process. CITEV, of course. Coltec is another Portuguese company leading in innovation coating and lamination hot melting process. Pafil, they are expertise in technical clothing, and we involved to an hospital in the north of Portugal, COVID hospital. So, as all of us knows, in the COVID pandemic, the hospitals are stretched behind capacity. The World Health Organization recognized a general lack in medical devices and PPEs. So Europe is not specialized in the production of raw materials or in the current DM PPEs, and there are no culture and knowledge in their production. Nowadays, most DM PPEs are disposable, representing a serious environmental impact, and the comfort, ergonomics, breathability are a big issue for the current disposal equipments. So we have some challenge, develop and the reinvention of urgently in Europe of alternatives to current disposable DMPPs, avoiding almost exclusive dependence on Asia country, develop new PPs reusable, resistant to industrial washing at 55 degrees with high pH around 11-12, and industrial drying. It's a big challenge for textiles. Improving the breathability, sustainability, ergonomic aspects in a way to increase the mobility and comfort of healthcare professionals that are essential for conditions for good performance of their activity. And the knowledge of the MPP's textile basis will also be an economic and a strategic leverage to a traditional sector in Portugal and Europe as textile and clothing industry. So the aim of the COVID Tech for Life was develop an innovative line of textile-based DMPPs, reusable and washable for protection of healthcare professionals exposed to infectious agent, allowing at least 20 uses, keeping their properties unchanged. So here we have two approaches, technologies regarding the waterproofness of textiles in the context of protection against liquid effective agents, outstanding by improving comfort, sustainability, and lower environmental impact. Here we can show you the concept and R&D methodology that we follow. First of all, we start to make the R&D of additives formulation and water-based polymeric textile coating, namely by foam, stable foam. And in the other hand, we have another approach, R&D of waterproof and breathable membranes by hot melt coating and lamination process. So we achieve textile coated materials by coating, by foam coatings, and textile laminated materials with breathable membranes. Of course, all these materials were tested and should be according to the mandatory standards for this kind of product. Regarding the penetration resistance by contaminated liquids under pressure, mechanical resistance, and bacteria penetration resistance. To obtain the reusable textile DMPPs, textile-based. Of course, we want to protect. We want that the product were reusable, washable, breathable, and ergonomics. During the project, we assess as well the product life cycle, the LCA, comparing with the disposable PPEs, the current PPEs, we compare with them. Here we can see the work plan. I just highlight some topics. Of course, we have the project management. In the work package 1, we try to find the state of the art, the standards, legislation, the technical requirements and materials for developments. And in the work package 2, we make the R&D of the new textiles for the MPPs. We test different formulations, different membranes. We try different designs and ergonomic aspects to improve the comfort. Hygiene conditions of the PPs were as well studied. Then we have done the prototypes and the re-engineering, and we have done the assessment of these new products and the prototypes at laboratory and hospital environmental scale. Of course, we would like to make the exploitation and dissemination of these results, and we are now doing that. Here we can see the mandatory standards that we follow in these for these products, as the standard for surgical gowns and clean air suits. I won't explain all standards, but we can see, and we have done validation before and after the industrial washing and drying, because this industrial washing is very aggressive for textiles and for our developments.
You have 1 minute, 1 minute 30. You have only 1 minute and a half.
Oh my God! So I'm going to present the main results. We have make a survey to healthcare professional in hospitals, and we achieved 61 answers. And comfort, protection, lightness, breathability were the main issues that present us, the main needs. And so we make a screening and select different knitted materials with different compositions and heights for lamination and for coating. And then we explored 2 different membranes with different thickness, with different breathabilities, and we explored 2 different formulations for the coating, and the most promising waterproof breathable membranes, and the coatings are from PU based. The technologies you can see here by a coating, knife coating, and by hot melt coating and lamination. Here I can show you the most promising, the first most promising results were with the lyocell laminate with PU and polyester laminated with PU. But we would like to go further with breathability, because we achieve the results accordance with the mandatory standards, but we would like to obtain more breathable products. We test several products with several membranes, and now, yes, we have a very interesting two products, very interesting they are already tested, 2 liquid penetrations. They pass in these tests after 20 industrial washing cycles, and we are ongoing laboratory tests to see if they pass for the other mandatory standards. So we have done same. I just finished now. We do the same to the coating applications, and we achieve very good results. And now we are pursued with the other laboratory tests. We have done some waterproof seams tests to see if the products are in accordance with the standards. Here we can see the prototypes, the final prototypes. We are measuring the LCA too, and I'm finished now. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Too much information for a short time, but thank you very much.
Very short time, and we are very much behind the schedule, so we need to go fast.
Yes,
so thank you, and I would like to ask the next and last speakers, which is Lenka Martinkova from Inotex, that also will present some solutions about face masks and bed linen. So Lenka, please, the floor is yours, and you also have only 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I will try my share my presentation. I cannot see it. That's the same as yesterday.
We still don't see it.
Still not yet. Okay.
Okay, now we can see it.
So I am from SME company, textile finishing company from Inotex, from Czech Republic, and I will shortly present here some of our results of the development of special textile with functional dyeing with washable, wash-stable, self-cleaning effect suitable for clothing, reusable face mask, and bed linen. The fresh dye technology was developed in frame of the Czech National Alter Bio project, co-financed by Technology Agency of Czech Republic in cooperation with Center of Organic Chemistry and National Public Health Institute Prague. The technology of functional dyeing of cellulosics and their blends with polyester provides textiles with a self-cleaning effect, stable in multiple washings. The textiles are suitable for medical staff clothing, face mask, bed linen, filters, interior textiles, and so on. The self-cleaning effect is based on a singlet oxygen generation by a photoactive dye stuff under common daylight or interior light illumination. The singlet oxygen is highly reactive and decomposes pollutants, including microorganisms, which results also in anti-odor effect. The singlet oxygen lifetime is only several microseconds. It means its activity is limited only on the fiber surface. The dye is reactively bound on the cellulosic fiber. It means that the effect is stable without any leaching into the environment, and the dyed textiles do not need any additional antimicrobial finishing. Of course, we can measure the photoactivity of textiles. It means the rate of the singlet oxygen production by the dye textiles. We measure it spectrophotometrically using a iodide method as a created triodide linear growth slope. The dyeing technology had been developed from lab scale via pilot plant and semi-industrial scale optimization up to the industrial processing with a utility sample as a result of the development. Cotton, polyester blends, and also viscose fibers in woven, knitted, and also non-woven construction can be dyed for different shades in combination with reactive or wet dyes. The results is verified optimized technology. It was transferred into the industrial sphere. It was performed in Innotex short-run production regimes. It was confirmed that the dyeing can be combined also with an additional functional finishing, for example, flame-proof, water repellent, oil repellent on easy care products application. The antimicrobial efficiency is evaluated concurrently after finishing and during the repeated washing cycles or prescribed maintenance cycles. Here we have some results of antimicrobial activity determination in the National Public Health Institute, Prague. It was evaluated against gram-plus and gram-minus species of bacteria under daylight illumination. Also after 10 washings and chemothermo disinfection, this is the maintenance regimes prescribed for healthcare textiles. And these maintenance regimes were performed in a commercial laundry service facility cooperating with us. Here are some illustration of laboratory testing, lab trials. This is the influence of the photoactive dye stuff concentration on the color shade, resulting color shade. And of course, singlet oxygen generation and antimicrobial effect. And also some examples of combination with other dyes. And here is illustrated the stability of the color shade and functionality in long-term washing, repeated washing. Singlet oxygen production and antimicrobial effect in washing at 60 degrees centigrade for up to 50 cycles for cotton on the left side and cotton polyester 50-50 on the right side. So you can see the stability of the shades quite remains after repeated washing, and of course also singlet oxygen production. And the evaluation of dyed textiles should be completed by physiological properties evaluation. It means absorptivity, air, permeability, breathability, and liquid transport for a high wearing comfort ensuring. The functional effect, the functional dyeing, can be combined with additional water repellent finishing for double self-cleaning effect here with fluorine-free encapsulated paraffin product for durable water repellent and soil repellent anti-soil effect. And antimicrobial effect is documented by accredited laboratory report, permanent in washing. And during the current pandemic situation, Innotex concentrates on dyeing of textiles for washable, reusable face mask production, where the photoactive textiles is used as the external layer with possibility to insert a mechanical barrier nanofibrous layer inside, which can be removed before washing and use again. There are relevant care symbols and promoting info leaflet. The content of this leaflet is summarized here in a conclusion of my presentation that the fresh dye technology was developed for functional dyeing with long-term wash stable self-cleaning effect, stable in minimum 50 washings at 60 degrees centigrade. We also tried 70, 75. It was still successful. This dyeing is determined for cellulosic fibers, basically for cotton blends with polyester also, or regenerated cellulosics with different type of construction suitable for face mask, clothing, bed linen, or filters. Pollutants, including microorganisms, are degraded under daylight and common interior light with wavelengths, the best 600 and 700 UV part of the light spectrum is not necessary for this type of photoactivity. The dye textiles can be finished also additionally with flame-proof, water repellent, and easy care top finishing. In accredited laboratories, the antimicrobial efficiency of the dye textiles was evaluated according to textile standards, relevant textile standards. You can see here, already mentioned it in previous presentation. The textiles were also assessed according to standards for medical devices regarding to irritation and skin sensitization, with good results in Prague National Public Health Institute. Now, which is important, I am finishing. Now the evaluation is running according to standard for determination of antiviral activity available finally in Ostrava Health Institute, and the fresh dye technology is realized in Inotec's company facility. So that's all from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lenka. And we are at the end of our session regarding solutions from textile sector to fight the pandemic. I would like to remind all our followers on the social media that the presentation will be available starting from tomorrow on the RESET project webpage. So from my side, thank you very much to the speakers, to all of you, for your very high quality presentations and the technical details that you provided to us. I would have many questions to ask, but unfortunately we are very late and we don't have time for questions. But again, you can go on the webpage of the RESET project and drop your comments and your questions there. So thank you very much for following this session, and I wish everybody a nice continuation, because the event is not finished, but we'll continue with another keynote speaker. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. And if I not heard, please. Yes, okay, perfect. Thank you very much for the organizers. So yes, good afternoon now to even listeners across Europe, all the way to Portugal and the UK. My name is Lutz Walter. I'm the Secretary General of the European Textile Technology Platform, which is the European network for research and textile research and innovation. We're based in Brussels. We have been created by the European Textile Clothing and Textile and Clothing Industry Federation, Eurotex, together with a number of networks, European networks that represents the textile research and innovation ecosystem, such as the research centers, universities, and clusters. So I know we're running late, so I want to be quite brief in my final remarks. So it is clear, I think, to all of us, all of you, that the European textile and clothing industry has been and is still very, very deeply impacted by the COVID pandemic and all the related difficulties of doing business, of producing in certain cases, but most importantly, of being able to bring their products to the market, especially consumer markets such as clothing, fashion, home textiles, and so on, with closed shops and the inability of consumers to go out and purchase and consume. So you have seen, I think, today a lot of examples of how this industry across Europe has risen to that challenge, and medical equipment, face masks and other medical or textile-based medical equipment and PPE has been a solution above all for citizens and our societies to be able to face this pandemic, but also a partial solution, I would say, at least for quite a number of our companies in the industry to somehow compensate to some extent for the shortfall in other business lines. It has obviously been, as the saying goes, the necessity is the mother of all inventions. So a lot of the inventions or innovations that companies have taken in order to face this crisis were out of this necessity of seeing that no other the other business was not working, but also out of a willingness to support and to help in whatever way they could. So out of these sort of necessity-driven inventions and innovations, I think a lot of long-term, longer-lasting innovations will definitely arise for our industry as we are hopefully coming out of this pandemic over the next few months as we go further into 2021. So, but obviously, I think it's clear to everybody that we will not simply go back to life as usual as it was before in many ways. And in that sense, I think many companies, or all companies, have to ask themselves the questions, well, what is it that we will keep and what is it that we will not keep anymore after this crisis has passed? So as I said, there were a number of things that companies started doing during the crisis that they didn't do before, and they stopped doing other things that they did before because they couldn't do them anymore during the crisis, including sending people to work at offices, including sending people to customers, sending people to trade fairs, sending people to conferences and other events. So there were a number of things that companies had to simply stop doing. And now the important question that we have to ask ourselves is, as we come out of this crisis, is, well, what of the things that we have actually started doing, we will continue to do, and what are the things that we have stopped during the crisis we may never start doing again? And I think this is really where a lot of hard questions will have to be asked. Yes, there will be a lot of things will come back. We will see trade fairs again. We will see shops opening again. But at the same time, we also will see that more consumption will go online. We will see that more events will stay online, more home working will remain, more virtual interactions across the value chain will remain. So there are a lot of things that will stay after this crisis because simply we found out that it actually works better. So this is, I think, what the immediate thoughts are. More strategically, we are seeing a lot of, obviously in Brussels, we've seen that the European Union has also reacted quite forcefully to this crisis. So we have a big European recovery and resilience facility that has been approved by member states in very short time that is kicking in this year. We also see a complete new multi-annual financial framework, so a new EU budget, which is the traditional budget, that includes a lot of increased expenditures for things like research and innovation. So we have the start of a new European research framework program, the Horizon Europe program, which started this year and will soon have its own its first calls for proposals. What we will also see, and we haven't seen ever actually, is the European Commission developing a so-called European or EU textile strategy. So this is a policy that we expect to be published somewhere in the third or early fourth quarter of 2021, where the European Commission will lay out main principles of how they would see the European textile and clothing sector evolve over the coming years and decades. And a very important element of that is the circular economy. So there will be a lot of elements in there that relate to how to make textiles more circular, how to make the textile industry more sustainable. But there will be also elements in there that refer to digitalization. There will be elements that relate to the development of skills for the future operation of this industry. There will be elements in there that relate to access to markets, access to global markets, how we make it easier for our companies to access global markets while facing fair competition. And finally, there will also be actions relating to resilient local or regional supply chains. So this is something which I think was driven home to many policymakers during this pandemic, is to say that, well, for certain very crucial products, we don't have existing regional supply chains in Europe that allow us to respond very quickly to these kind of needs. And one or some of these products are actually textile based, and here we will see also new suggestions of how to redevelop, in certain cases, more resilient textile supply chains in Europe. So we, from the side of the European Textile Technology Platform, we will work very closely also with Euratex on this new strategy, and we will continue to help our members to make maximum advantage of those opportunities provided in the European programs such as Horizon Europe. So later this year, I think in the spring, when we see the first calls for proposals, we will be supporting our members, helping to set up new projects, interacting with the European policymakers in charge of these calls. And we are also having a new program running, which is we call the strategic programs, which is a networking and training activity where we currently run 2 programs in circular economy and bio-based fibers. And we expect to launch additional programs later this year, certainly one on smart textiles and maybe additional ones on digitalization or technical textiles. So with this, there's a lot of opportunity to develop new things, because this is what I think we all need coming out of this crisis. We will, of course, see a bounce back, and, well, many people start talking about a replay of the roaring 20s, as it was called 100 years ago, when we came out of this depression, which was the First World War, and then followed by a pandemic as well. So yes, we will see a bounce back in consumption. We will certainly see a big bounce back in traveling, in fashion consumption, in events, and all these kind of things. That will help the industry for sure. But I think there will be many innovations that will remain. We have to digitize more. We have to invest more in product innovation, and we have to invest more in sustainability and circularity. So these are really big themes that we see in the future of our industry, and there will be a lot of opportunities to work together on that on the European level. And with this, I would like to finish. I know we are a bit over time, but I hope you all enjoyed this really interesting event and the many good examples from across Europe that have been presented. With this, thank you very much, and enjoy the event. Bye.